3 years ago, I walked out on my toxic family. Now, I'm a tech success. My sister tried to expose me at Grandma's party, but the truth shattered her. When I last saw my sister Catherine, she was smirking at me across our parents' mahogany dining table. My mother sobbed into her handkerchief as my father's nasty remarks resonated. I always knew you wouldn't amount to anything. That night, 3 years ago, was the breaking point. The last time I allowed my family to make me feel insignificant and worthless. My mother, hoping between dramatic sniffles, implored, "Sweetheart, we just want what's best for you. If you just listen to Catherine about the job at her firm." I cut in, my voice surprisingly steady despite the wrath building inside me. The entry-level administrative role, where I would fetch her coffee. Catherine's gorgeous, irritating smile did not change. "Everyone needs to start somewhere, little sister. Some of us simply start higher than others." The old aching knot in my stomach tightened. For 24 years, I had been trapped in Catherine's shadow. She accumulated accolades, I collected criticism. Every one of my accomplishments was compared to hers and deemed wanting. Every mistake I made became a family legend, whispered and repeated. I replied calmly, "I already have a job. I'm doing well in a technology startup." My father Richard scoffed as he swirled his whiskey. "Are you talking about playing with computers? Meanwhile, your sister runs charity organizations that make a meaningful impact in people's lives." I couldn't help but mutter. "Making changes to her bank account, you mean?" The hush that ensued was deafening. Catherine's flawless smile had finally shattered. "What are you implying?" she growled, her eyes flaming. My mother swooped in before I could react. "Emma, apologize to your sister right now for everything she has done for you." "Done for me?" I truly laughed. It sounded strange, even to my ears. What exactly did she do? I challenged myself, but only to ensure that I never forgot my station. That was it. My father slammed his glass down, sending echoes through the room. "That is enough. You've always been jealous of Catherine's accomplishments. If you worked half as much as you do now, you'd be whining." "I work 50 hours every week," I screamed, standing up abruptly. "I'm in charge of development on a huge project. But you have never asked about it, have you?" "Sit down," my mother said, her voice stern. "We aren't completed." "Actually," I said, clutching my pocketbook, my hand shaky but my determination firm. "Yes, we are." I took a deep breath. "I'm done being the family's disappointment. I'm tired of you worshipping Catherine while treating me like I'm broken. I'm just finished." Catherine, ever the manipulator, spoke forward. Her voice full of feigned concern. "Mom and Dad. She's just having another one of her episodes. Remember back in high school when? Goodbye." I cut her off as she walked towards the door. "Do not try to contact me." My father's icy, threatening voice followed me. "If you walk out that door, don't expect any aid if you fail, which you will." I hesitated in the doorway and turned around for one more glance. My mother's mascara-streaked face, my father's firm displeasure, and Catherine's sickeningly satisfied smirk. They were a flawless family image, as they always had been, with one obvious terrible flaw. Me. I said, "Watch me." A promise and a curse, and I locked the door behind me. 3 years had passed. They went 3 years without saying anything, but they did build something they couldn't take away. Of becoming someone they don't even recognize. My phone buzzed this morning with a message from my cousin Ben, ending 3 years of tranquility. "Hello, stranger, you won't believe it, but Grandma Clara's 75th birthday party is next month. The whole family is arriving. Catherine is in charge of coordinating everything and has some wild plans. She has been inquiring a lot about you." I glanced at the message as my coffee grew cold alongside my laptop. My office window provided a view of the downtown skyline. The identical view that had appeared on magazine covers advertising my company. The same view that my family would never think I possessed. Another communication from Ben flashed up. "You should come and show them who you are now." My finger was hovering above the delete button, but something stopped me. Perhaps it was time. It was time to show them just who Emma Walker had become. My phone buzzed again when they were not watching. This is a news alert. A tech innovator has been named to Forbes' list of the 30 under 40. The screen reflected my own face. I had insisted that they leave out my middle name from the piece. My family never reads technology news. I remembered Catherine, who was curious about what I'd been up to, arranging something outrageous for Grandma's party. My sister always enjoyed a good show. "Well," I said to myself, a gradual smile creeping across my face. "Let us offer her one." I typed a brief response to Ben. Tell me more about the celebration. Someone's been looking through your social media, he continued, settling into the chair across from my desk. And I am not referring to the regular tech journalists. I minimized the quarterly reports on my screen. Let me guess, I murmured, a familiar chill running up my spine. My sister. Daniel leaned forward and lowered his voice, despite the fact that we were alone in my office. But you have a chatty cousin who messaged you about the party. She informed me that Catherine has been showing everyone images of you outside some posh condo in Manhattan. Interesting, given that I've never mentioned anything about where you live. Exactly. Daniel had been my right hand since the early days, when we were coding in a basement. He understood everything, including why I had kept my accomplishment hidden from my family. She employed someone named Emma. A pie. I felt the same old chill. The one I used to have before family dinners. You're sure? Remember Ethan from IT security? His wife works for an investigative firm. She heard your sister's name mentioned during a briefing. My phone vibrated. Another message from Ben. OMG, you have to hear what Catherine just said to everyone in the family group chat. She claims you've lied about everything, says she is proof you are not who you claim to be. I showed Daniel the message. He whistled lowly. She's attempting to prepare you for something huge at that party. Allow her to try. I rose up and walked towards the window. People 12 stories below appeared to be ants moving between skyscrapers. She wants to expose me. Fine. But she might not like what she discovers. What are your thoughts? Before I could respond, my assistant Olivia buzzed in. Miss Walker, your two are here. The venture capital gathering. Thank you, Olivia. Daniel completed for me. Okay, finish this later. He nodded, walked towards the door, and then hesitated. Just take care. Okay, I understand it. Looks like you're planning something. After he went, I opened my laptop and checked my private email. I received 3 fresh messages from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, all asking variations on the same subject. Was this true? Had I actually pretended to be successful? I selected delete for all of them. My telephone rang. Grandma Clara's phone number. My finger lingered over decline, but something compelled me to answer. Hello. It's about time you picked up. Her voice sounded precisely as I recalled. Sharp and clear, with no bullshit. Your sister is telling everyone that you're a con artist. Is she here now? Do not play coy with me, girl. Are you attending this party or not? I paused. Do you want me there? I would not have asked if I hadn't. A pause. Something isn't right about this. Catherine is overly enthusiastic, like she's preparing a public execution rather than a birthday party. That sounds like her. Emma. Her tone softened somewhat. What actually happened 3 years ago? My email pinged before I could respond. A fresh message. There was no topic line from an address I didn't recognize, only a photo attachment. I opened it and felt my blood freeze. I was heading into my office building yesterday morning with a coffee in hand. The angle indicated that it was taken from across the street. I have to go, Grandma. I will consider about the celebration. I hung up and enlarged the photograph. A faint watermark can be seen in the corner. Man. Investigate. My phone vibrated again. This time the text came from an unknown number. Interesting career path for someone who started dabbling with computers 3 years ago. Your sister says hi. I should have been afraid. Instead, I felt something different, something tougher, colder, that had been accumulating for 3 years. I dialed Daniel. Remember the contact you mentioned? The one whose wife works for the PI firm? I need to meet today. My building is under surveillance. Daniel is snapping pictures. If Catherine wants to play detective, that's okay. But she overlooked something crucial. What is that? I looked at the shot again, seeing my fancy suit and my company's emblem clearly apparent behind me. I'm no longer a terrified little sister. And I have riches that she cannot imagine. What are you planning to do? Last night, I thought of Catherine's sneer and how many times she had torn me down to build herself up. About the lies she was telling now, attempting to destroy whatever she imagined I'd become. I'm going to let her finish her investigation, I added gently. And then I'm going to show her what a real takedown looks like. The truth was coming. All of it. And this time, I'd be the one smirking across the table. Aaron Matthews' office looked precisely like one you'd expect from a private investigator. Weathered leather chairs, filing cabinets, and an old desk. The man himself was a surprise. Crisp suit, piercing eyes, and a manner that suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. Miss Walker, he remarked without standing. I believe this is about the surveillance photos. You assumed, right? I sat across from him, mirroring his posture. Want to know why you're photographing me for my sister? He gave me a long look. Professional courtesy prohibits me from discussing other clients. Professional courtesy did not prevent you from emailing me the photo. A faint smile appeared on his face. That sure, I did lean forward. So, either you're playing both sides, or something about this case compelled you to contact us. Which is it? Aaron unlocked a drawer and took out a large manila envelope. Your sister paid me to prove you were lying about your accomplishments. She was insistent that I unearth evidence of fraud, dishonesty, and possibly even criminal behavior. And he paused. And instead, I discovered this. He slid the envelope across the desk. Take a peek. Inside, there were paperwork, photos, financial records, my company's valuation reports, pictures of my penthouse, my vacation property in the Berkers, press clippings about my tech inventions, and all I'd worked for, all in black and white. Aaron commented quietly, that's an impressive portfolio. Self-made, clean, and legal. The opposite of what your sister was looking for. So, why show me? Because when examining you, I discovered something else. Something that shouldn't be there. He took another, thinner envelope from his desk. This was incorrectly filed in your sister's background records. I don't think she realizes I have it. My hand shook slightly when I opened it. There was only one page inside. A bank statement from Catherine's humanitarian organization. Red flags appeared instantly. Irregular transfers, inconsistent quantities, and monies flowing to personal accounts. Is this what I believe it is? Aaron nodded. Your sister has been embezzling from her own charity. Start with little sums and work your way up to larger ones. The probe regarding her activities began 2 months ago. She does not know. Not yet, but she will. He leaned back. Here's the thing, Miss Walker. I do not like being used. Your sister has paid me to destroy you. They told me lies about who you were. Instead, I discovered someone who created something real. My phone vibrated. Another message from Ben. Catherine is telling everyone she will expose you at Grandma's celebration. She claims she is proof you are living a lie. I showed Aaron the message. He actually laughed. She plans to submit my report during the party. He stated he believes it will disgrace you. Make it clear to everyone that you are a phony. Instead, she will give proof of your legitimate achievement to your entire family. He motioned to the envelopes. Take both of them. Consider this an apology for the surveillance. I stood and gathered the documents. Why are you truly assisting me? Let's just say I have a sister too. He smiled grimly. And sometimes, karma requires a little shove. I called Daniel from outside of his office. So, he asked. It's better than we expected. Catherine isn't only attempting to expose me, she is going to accidentally reveal herself. What do you mean? She has been stealing from her charity, Daniel. And she is about to deliver me evidence of both my accomplishments and her crimes in front of our entire family. A low whistle. That is poetic justice. I laughed, recalling all of those family dinners, smirks and sharp remarks. What is the best part? She's paying for her own demise. Can you identify where she acquired the money to hire Aaron Matthews? Don't inform me about the family trust account. The one she always felt I wasn't responsible enough to use. My phone vibrated again. I received an email from my mother. Emma, please do not come to the party. Avoid exacerbating the situation. I removed it without replying. 3 years ago, I left their table feeling broken. This time, I'd walk in knowing exactly who I was and, more crucially, who Catherine was. Daniel? I asked, climbing into my car. Remember how you said I was planning something? Yeah, I'm not anymore. I looked at the envelopes on my passenger seat. I'm just going to let Catherine's plan play out exactly as she intended. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. The party was just a week away. For once, I was eagerly anticipating a family gathering. Holy shit, he said quietly, spreading Aaron Matthews' documents on my office table. This is comprehensive, I said, watching him flip through pages of my life's work. Forbes features, property documents, and corporate valuations are thoroughly documented. Catherine wanted proof. She got it. But it wasn't the proof she desired. Daniel displayed a glossy photo of me presenting at a technology convention. This will backfire spectacularly. My phone flashed up. Another communication from Catherine. The first direct interaction in 3 years. I hope you are ready for Grandma's party. Little sister. It's time to show everyone who you truly are. I showed Daniel the message. He snorted. She has no idea, right? None. I took up the second envelope, which contained Catherine's secrets. But here is the actual bomb. We spent the next hour going through the charity's financial records. The trend was evident. At first, withdrawals were little, but they gradually increased in size. Money allocated for children's programs was siphoned to personal accounts. Luxury purchases are disguised as operational expenses. Look at this. Daniel pointed to a specific transaction. She hired Aaron Matthews using charitable monies. Not only that, I opened my banking app. She also took $10,000 from the family trust account, which she oversees, on the same day. Can she do this legally? Number. It requires approval from all beneficiaries. I laughed bitterly. She presumably assumed I'd never know because I hadn't touched that account in years. Olivia popped her head in through the open door to my office. Sorry to interrupt, but you must watch this. Catherine just shared something in your family's Facebook group. I brought it up on my laptop. There it was, a lengthy, seemingly sincere post about keeping the family safe from fraud and sharing hard realities. She had even tagged Grandma Clara. Daniel said the words while bending over my shoulder. Look at them. Dozens of relatives offer their support. My mother wrote, "It's for the best, sweetheart. She needs help." My father added, "Some people can't handle the truth." Only one comment jumped out. "Grandma Clara is cautious about the truths you seek, child. You might not like what you discover." "Grandma knows something," Daniel remarked. "Grandma always knows something." I shut the laptop. That is why Catherine is performing this at her birthday celebration. She believes Grandma's approval will justify her attack. My phone vibrated again. Aaron Matthews, this time your sister simply demanded the final report. She says she needs it for a family presentation. I thought you should know. I typed back. Let her have it. Daniel lifted his eyebrow. Are you really going to let her do this? Watch, I replied, bringing up the trust account information on my screen. Catherine was really bent on exposing me. She's becoming sloppy. Look at these transfers. She's been stealing for months, assuming no one will notice. But you did. Number. I smiled. Grandma did. 3 weeks ago, she asked for an audit of all family funds. That prompted the probe into Catherine's charity. So, when Catherine presented Aaron Matthews' report, she was giving evidence of my achievement to a grandma who was already aware of her dishonesty. I leaned back. Sometimes the finest vengeance is simply sitting back and watching. Olivia appeared again. Miss Walker, the board meeting starts in 7 minutes. Thank you, Olivia. I stood, smoothing my jacket. Daniel, could you please finish reviewing these? I'd like to know every aspect before the celebration. Yes, but he hesitated. Do you really intend to expose her in front of everyone? I recalled all the times Catherine had humiliated me during family gatherings. All the smirks, the subtle insults, the way she presented herself as the successful sister while portraying me as the failure. No, I said finally. I am going to let her expose herself. My phone flashed up one last time. I received a message from Grandma Clara today with my party invitation. It says you're coming. It's about time, girl. Bring that backbone. I know you've grown. I grinned and typed. Don't worry, Grandma. I am not the same person who left 3 years ago. Good, she said quickly. Because neither is your sister. And only one of you will like how this party finishes. Looking at the records on my table, which proved both my rise and Catherine's fall, I knew which of us it would be. I contacted Daniel as I was heading to my meeting. Make sure that records are kept safe. The party is in 7 days, and Catherine isn't the only one who knows how to deliver a presentation. Sometimes karma needs a little assistance, and other times it simply requires an audience. The notes began to arrive a week before Grandma's party. First there were my mother's daily guilt trips. Please rethink coming. You will simply embarrass yourself. Why don't you just let Catherine help you? We're only trying to keep you safe from yourself. Delete. 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 I was in the middle of a board meeting when Ben called 3 times. You need to hear this, she added as I finally walked out to respond. I just overheard Catherine on the phone with Aaron Matthews. She intends to conduct this presentation shortly after Grandma's cake. Says she'll safeguard the family from your falsehoods or something. Did she mention what the lies were? No. But Ben lowered her voice. She's acting strangely. Emma appears to be manic. She keeps checking her financial accounts on her phone. She tried to access the trust fund again yesterday, but Grandma had locked it down for routine auditing. I smiled. How did Catherine take that? She hurled the phone across the room. Perfect. The pressure was getting on her. Thank you, Ben. Keep me posted. Back in my office, Daniel was waiting for additional information. Your sister just attempted to enter the building. Security stopped her. I moved to the window. 12 floors below. I could just see Catherine's distinctive red coat as she stormed to her car. What did she want to talk about with the CEO? Daniel grinned. I guess she doesn't recognize you. My phone vibrated. A text from Aaron Matthews. Your sister is getting desperate. He asked me to explore deeper. Find something more destructive. I informed her that the report was definitive. I was ready to respond when another call arrived. Grandma Clara, I replied. Are you busy? She asked. Never too busy for you, Grandma. That's good because I'm outside your building. I froze. What? I saw your sister making a scene down here. I figured it was time to talk. A pause. What a nice office you have. Corner suite. I'd say 7 minutes later, Grandma Clara sat across from me, looking precisely as I remembered, elegant, sharp-eyed and unmoved by the vista that had most people gasping. So, she explained, setting down her tea. This is what you have been hiding. I was not hiding. Save it. She waved her hand. I've known about your success for several months. What I want to know is why you allowed people to think otherwise. I met her gaze. If I had told them, would they have believed me? No, she admitted. They'd have concluded you were lying. Just as Catherine does today. She grinned faintly, despite having seen the proof. Do you know about Aaron Matthews' report? I know a lot of things. She brought out her phone and handed me an email with an audit report on your sister's charity. Interesting read. Don't worry, Grandma. I will not spoil her big presentation. She stood adjusting her jacket. Please tell me one thing. Are you prepared for this? For Catherine's attack. Number. Her gaze remained fixed on the fallout. Because after this is done, nothing in this family will be the same. Before I could react, my phone flashed with a message from my father. Your mother is in tears over what you are putting Catherine through. I hope you are happy. I showed it to grandmother. She read it and laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, they don't know what's coming, do they? She started towards the door but hesitated. Wear your navy suit to the party? The one from your Forbes photo shoot? It will appear great in photographs. What photographs? The ones that everyone will take when Catherine's presentation fails. She winked. I may be reaching 80, but I still know how to put on a show. Daniel entered after she had departed. Was that indeed your grandmother? The one and only. She appeared scary. I was going to say prepared. My phone vibrated. One last time. Catherine, this is your last opportunity, little sister. Back out now, or I will ruin everything you've claimed to construct. I thought of the documents in my safe and Grandma's knowing smile. Approximately 3 years of silence and strength. You cannot ruin what is real, I typed back. Then I brought up the party invitation on my screen. There are 2 days to go. It took 2 days for Catherine to get up, expecting to tear me down, only to show her own destruction. Daniel, I called out, please clear my calendar for Monday. I have a birthday celebration to attend, and a sister to witness self-destruction. When I came into the country club ballroom, the room fell silent. The conversation ended in the middle of a phrase. Champagne glasses froze halfway to the lips, and all eyes turned to see me enter. I noticed Catherine approaching the cake table, her expression changing from smug to surprised as she took in my look. The navy clothing had the exact effect that Grandma had expected. Professional, powerful, and pricey. Emma, said my mother, her voice cracking. What are you doing? How are you? Happy birthday, Grandma, I murmured, bypassing my mother and heading directly to Grandma Clara's seat of honor. I handed her a little wrapped surprise. Grandma spoke up just on time and loud enough for everyone to hear. She tapped the unoccupied seat next to her. Sit. Whispers arose throughout the room. This seat next to the birthday girl was meant to be Catherine's. That's my space. Catherine hurriedly approached. Tell her, Mom. Let her sit. Grandma cut in, her tone leaving no room for disagreement. It is my birthday. I will seat anybody I want. Where I want. I caught my father's eye from across the room. He looked away first. The following hour was a symphony of awkward small talk and probing queries. Relatives that I hadn't seen in years suddenly wanted to know everything about my life. I gave them nothing but a smile and directed their queries back to them. Enough chit-chat. Catherine eventually spoke, touching her glass. It is time for the unique presentation I have arranged. She took out a thick envelope containing Aaron Matthews' report and proceeded to the little podium placed up near Grandma's chair. Before we begin, my mother interjected. Perhaps Emma should step out. No, Grandma answered firmly. Catherine cleared her throat. Everyone stays. As you all know, family is everything to me. That's why it aches my heart to reveal what I'm going to reveal. She addressed me squarely. Some people have deceived us, telling lies and appearing to be someone they are not. I sat back, relaxed, and let her speak. I hired a private investigator, she said proudly, to find out the truth about my sister's alleged success and what he discovered. Show us, Grandma interjected. Stop talking and show us what he's uncovered. Catherine stumbled slightly but recovered. Of course, I will begin with these photographs. She took out the first one. I enter my office building, with the corporate logo clearly visible behind me. This is where my sister claims to work, she explained. A technology company is valued at. She stopped reading the paper for the first time. Her face turned pallid. Go ahead, Grandma encouraged. What is the company's value? This cannot be correct. Catherine shuffled through more paperwork. What do these documents show? I asked gently. Property deeds, stock options, board member appointments, Forbes interviews, she whispered. The room was silent. Read it, Grandma demanded. Read what that investigator uncovered on Emma. She's the CEO, Catherine murmured. The company, it's hers. All of it. My mother choked, and my father's whiskey glass shattered on the floor. Keep going, Grandma whispered. There's more, isn't there? But Catherine had reached the last pages, the ones about her charity, and her face turned pale to gray. I think there's been a mistake, she stammered. These papers got mixed up. Aaron Matthews is very thorough, he documents everything. I pulled out my own envelope, including these bank transfers from the family trust account, which you made without approval. You had no right. Catherine shrieked. Those records are private. Like the charity's records? I asked softly. The room erupted in confused questions, relatives demanding explanations. My mother crying again, but for a different reason. My father attempting to reach Catherine, who was backing away from the podium. Grandma's voice cut through the turmoil, and she turned to Catherine. You wanted to disclose the truth, so congratulations. You did, but not the truth you expected, I added. Catherine looked around wildly, seeing the expressions of our family change from shock to comprehension to judgment. Well, Grandma continued calmly, I'd say this is turning out to be quite the memorable birthday party. She grinned at me. And we haven't even had cake yet. Then she ran straight out of the ballroom, leaving her damning presentation behind. The hush after Catherine's departure lasted exactly 10 seconds before my mother found her voice. This is your fault, she yelled, pointing at me. You set her up. Did I compel her to employ a private investigator? I asked calmly. Did I force her to take from her charity? There must be an explanation, my father interrupted. Catherine wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Grandma Clara's voice broke like a whip. She wouldn't lie, steal, or publicly disgrace her sister. She scooped up the scattered papers. The proof is right here, Richard. Your ideal daughter is a hoax, and your other daughter, Ben, who you labeled a failure, turns out to be the true success story. More relatives chipped in, and the tide turned as the truth became clear. Aunt Linda inquiring about the missing charity funds intended for her daughter's medical treatment. Uncle Robert inquiring about the trust account transfers. Cousins scrolling through interviews, my accomplishments. And my mother whispering, sinking into a chair. All these years you were successful, I supplied. My father demanded, why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I looked him straight in the eyes. 3 years ago, you said I'd fail, that I was nothing compared to Catherine. Well, here's the truth, Dad. While she was stealing from children's charities, I was building something real. I need to find Catherine. My mother stood up shakily. She needs me. Sit down, Hope. Grandma's tone froze her in place. For once in your life, face what's in front of you instead of running to Catherine. A commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. Aaron Matthews walked in, holding a folder. Sorry for interrupting, he said, nodding to me. But there's something else you should all know. The police have arrived. My mother collapsed back into her chair, and my father went pale. I was required by law to report the charity fraud once I discovered it, Aaron Matthews explained. They've been building a case for weeks. Right on cue, 2 detectives entered the ballroom, barely looking at the birthday decorations as they approached our group. "We're looking for Catherine Walker," one of them said, showing his badge. She left," my mother whispered. "We understand. We just arrested her in the parking lot." The room erupted again, with relatives gasping, my mother screaming, and my father shouting with the detectives. Throughout it all, Grandma sat peacefully sipping her champagne. "Was it worth the wait?" she asked me quietly. I saw my parents hurry out to find. Catherine watched my relatives huddled in shocked groups, sharing stories of how Catherine had borrowed money or made promises through her charity. "I didn't want this," I admitted. "You just wanted the truth," Grandma finished. "And now everyone has it." She stood up, commanding attention as always. "This party's not over. My granddaughter, my successful, honest granddaughter, has finally returned home, and I want cake." Later, as servers cut the elaborate birthday cake Catherine had ordered, Ben brought me a glass of champagne. "That was intense," he said. "But you know what's crazy? No one's even surprised about Catherine anymore. They're all talking about you, about how they should have seen it. What did they see? That you were the strong one, the real deal." She clinked her glass against mine. "Catherine tried to tear you down and exposed herself instead. That's some karma." My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "News about your sister's arrest is hitting the business feeds. Want me to handle public relations?" "No," I typed back. "Let the truth speak for itself. Emma." My father's voice made me look up. He stood awkwardly, appearing older than I'd ever seen him. "Your mother and I were going to the police station. But first I need to say, don't I cut him off? Save your apologies. They're 3 years late." He nodded slowly, comprehension suddenly showing in his eyes. "You really did it, didn't you? Everything we said you couldn't do." "No," I corrected him. "Everything you never bothered to see me do." As he walked away, Grandma Clara raised her glass in my direction. Around us, relatives were already shifting, adapting to the new family dynamic, one in which Catherine wasn't the golden child, and I wasn't the failure. "Happy birthday, Grandma," I said, raising my glass in response. She smiled. That knowing smile that suggested she'd seen this coming all along. "Oh, sweetheart, this is just the beginning." At 3:15 a.m., my office phone rang. The number was blocked. But I knew who it was. "Hello, Catherine." A pause then. "How did you know?" "Because you always do your worst damage in the middle of the night." I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the city lights. "What do you want?" "I'm out on bail," she said, as if that explained everything. "Mom and Dad won't answer my calls. No one will. That's what happens when you steal from sick children." "I didn't." She stopped. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. You were supposed to be the failure and disappointment, not me. Sorry for ruining your narrative." "Can't you help me?" Her voice cracked. "You have money now. You have influence. You could make this go away like you tried to make me go away." Silence. "That's what I thought." I stood up and walked to the window. "Goodbye, Catherine." "Wait." She was crying now. "Please. You're my sister." "No," I quietly said. "I stopped being your sister the day you decided to destroy me instead of accept me." I hung up just as you knocked on my door. "Late night?" Daniel asked, noting my expression. "Just finishing some family business." I gestured to my laptop. "Did you see the email from Grandma?" He grinned. "The one about her new foundation? Pretty bold move. Starting a children's charity to replace Catherine's, and Boulder even asked me to be on the board." I showed him the draft of the press release. "She wants to announce it next week." Speaking of announcements, he handed me a tablet with an email from my mother with the subject line, "Please read." I almost deleted it, but something compelled me to open it. "Emma," it read. "Your father and I are selling the house that we always said you weren't good enough to live up to. The one Catherine was supposed to inherit. We're donating the proceeds to Grandma's new foundation as restitution for what Catherine stole. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But you deserve to know that we finally see you, not as we wanted you to be, but as you are. You won, not because you proved us wrong, but because you proved yourself correct." "Mom, are you okay?" Daniel asked softly. Before I could respond, my assistant Olivia buzzed in. "Miss Walker, your grandmother is here." Grandma Clara walked in, impeccable as always. "Good. You're both here. We need to talk about the foundation launch." At 2:45 a.m., she smiled. The best time for fresh starts. She sat down and pulled out a folder. The DA called. Catherine took a plea deal. She's going away for a while. How long? Long enough to learn what it's like to lose everything. She met my eyes like you did once. I didn't lose everything, I corrected her. I left everything. Yes, there is. She opened the folder. Now about this foundation, I'm thinking big. She looked up at me. Do you think you can handle that? I remembered Catherine's late-night call, my mother's email, and that meal 3 years ago, when I left with nothing but my dignity. Actually, I said, pulling up a proposal on my laptop. I have some ideas. Daniel excused himself, leaving me with Grandma to plan something bigger than revenge. Redemption. Not for Catherine, not for my parents, but for all the kids who needed what Catherine's charity had promised but never delivered. My phone buzzed once more, a text from Ben. Family group chat is wild. Everyone was sharing your Forbes article, and even Uncle Robert admitted he was wrong about you. I showed it to Grandma, who laughed. No, dear. Times don't change. People do. Some grow stronger, some show their weakness. You did the former, your sister did the latter, and your parents are learning. She patted my hand. But that's not your problem anymore. You've got bigger things to build. Looking at the foundation plan spread across my desk, I realized she was right. I didn't need revenge anymore, and I didn't even need their approval. I had something better. The truth. Not just about who I'd become, but about who I'd always been. Ready to change some lives? Grandma asked, pen poised over the foundation papers. I signed my name, not as Catherine's sister, not as my parents' disappointment, but as exactly who I was meant to be, and always have been. As I bought a Porsche, my parents finally reached out. Family meeting, Mom insisted. I walked in with a $14 million surprise, watching as the tables turned. I am alone in the bridal suite at Willamette Valley Vineyard, staring at my reflection in the full-length mirror. My wedding gown fits wonderfully, with every seam and crystal precisely where it should be. The makeup artist outdid herself. My eyes appear larger, my cheekbones more defined, and my lips a lovely hue of rose. The white flowers in my arrangement sit on the vanity, waiting. I check my phone for the 12th time in 20 minutes. No messages from Mom or Dad, and not even a text from Daniel. A faint knock on the door disrupts the silence. Rebecca, the wedding coordinator, pokes her head in, her rehearsed smile barely concealing her anxiety. It's time, Emily. Are you ready? My gaze moves to the window overlooking the wedding area. 70 visitors are sitting in tidy white chairs. The string quartet performs gently. Probabilities and oddities exist. 2 empty chairs in the front row look back at me, accusingly. They're not coming, are they? My voice shakes despite my best attempts. Rebecca's smile fades. There's still time, she claims, but we both know it's a lie. I take a deep breath and smooth the silk in my gown. Let's go. The garden doors open, and 70 heads turn to see me walk down the aisle alone. I sense their sympathetic gazes as physical touches. Little pats of sympathy that make my skin crawl. Some whisper under cupped palms. Others give supportive grins, which only add to the hollow ache in my chest. My attention shifts to Aaron, who is waiting at the altar, his gaze fixed on me. The affection emanating from him is almost enough to drown out the recollection of my mother's voice 3 days ago. We'll try, sweetie. Daniel's firm has an event that weekend. Mom's dismissive tone pierced through the phone, as if she were declining a casual lunch invitation rather than her only daughter's wedding. I can pay for the flights, I'd said. Desperation is clutching at my throat. The hotel. Anything. Please, Mom. Dad's voice could be heard in the background. Tell her we're busy. I put one foot in front of the other and force myself to breathe. In. Out. One step. Another step. I won't weep. I will not satisfy them, even in their absence. When I reach Aaron, he grabs my hands in his. His fingertips are warm, substantial, and real. I'm here. He says quietly, too low for anybody else to hear. We're enough. For a moment, I'm 6 years old again, standing in our living room while Mom and Dad argue about Daniel's argument trophy. They carefully place it on the mantel, stand back. To examine it from all angles, and take photos to give to relatives. My art contest certificate is forgotten in a kitchen drawer. I had displayed it to them earlier that day, proudly explaining how the teacher had claimed I had excellent talent. Mom had glanced at it and commented, "That's nice, honey," before returning to the dinner she was making. Dad later touched my hair absent-mindedly. Daniel needs more support. He's going places, he replied when I inquired why they attended all of his events, but not my art show. You understand, don't you, Emily? Mom, you never miss an opportunity. Why can't you be more like your brother? He focuses on what matters. I didn't. I tried harder after that. Academic honors, college scholarships, and commercial success. Each achievement a desperate attempt to divert their gaze in my way. Each one was observed with a distant acknowledgement, if at all. The ceremony proceeds around me. I repeat my vows, my voice becoming stronger with each pledge. I choose a future based on seeing each other clearly, Aaron tells me. The words have more weight than anyone else. Yet he understands. When the officiant pronounces us husband and wife, Aaron's mother wraps me in a hug. You're one of us now, dear, she says softly. And something tense in my chest relaxes somewhat. The photographer captures us on the dance floor, with Aaron twirling me under the string lights. His cousins join us, creating a circle of laughing and song. For brief times, I forget about the family-shaped hole in my celebration. I forget about the phone, which I have checked far too often. I forgot about the explanations I gave to curious guests. At the reception, Jessica, my college roommate, lifts her glass. To finding the family who deserves you, she adds, keeping my gaze with strong loyalty. A murmur of agreement spreads through the throng. The sincerity of her remark strikes me as a bodily blow. All these years, I've been invisible to the ones who should have seen me the best. I've been chasing approval from people who never meant to give it. When the jubilation dies down for a moment, I go away to check my phone one last time. There were no missed calls or messages, nor was there even a symbolic congratulations. Aaron finds me there, staring at a blank screen. They missed something beautiful today, he adds, placing one arm around my waist. I glance up at him, the man who has never made me feel like I had to work for his attention. I think about his family, who accepted me wholeheartedly. I think about friends who came from all around the country to support me. I put the phone down. Their choice, I remark, feeling lighter than I have in years and free from my load. And for the first time, I nearly believe it. 3 years later, I reclined back in my ergonomic chair, looking at the computer screen. Crescent Motion Studios' acquisition was completed for $18 million. 3 years of negotiations, 5 years of starting from scratch, and now 8 figures to prove it. My office door flies open, and my team rushes in with bottles of champagne and plastic glasses. To Emily. Rachel, my creative director, lifts her glass. The woman who built something from nothing, while certain people weren't looking. I smile, clinking glasses with the 10 people who, unlike my family, came out to support me. My phone vibrates as we celebrate. Instagram sent me a notification that Daniel had posted about his twins' private school fundraising. I should not look. I do it anyhow. There they are. Mom and Dad are surrounding Daniel and his wife, Olivia. Their identical daughters wore matching plaid uniforms. The caption reads, "Family tradition continues." This is the 3rd generation at Westridge Academy. Dad's arm is stretched across Daniel's shoulder. Mom beams at her granddaughters. I scroll through more pictures. Daniel's family took a vacation to Hawaii last month. The holiday party I was not invited to. Dad's retirement party. Each one resembles the ideal American family, sans one daughter. What the photographs convey is more telling than the images themselves. A vacation rental on Maui costs at least $5,000 a week. Westridge Academy charges $30,000 per year each pupil. Daniel's house, seen in numerous photos, is located in an area where nothing sells for less than $1.8 million. According to gossip from distant cousins who sporadically remember my existence, it was all paid by my parents' retirement savings and family investments. Emily? Rachel strokes my arm. We lost you for a moment. I lock my phone screen. Just checking messages. Where were we? The party continues around me, but I'm mentally calculating. Daniel's law firm is fairly profitable, but not at a level that would sustain his lifestyle. My parents have been secretly supporting him for years, squandering their retirement to maintain his image. Meanwhile, my $18 million acquisition isn't worth a text message. After the team leaves, I go through my parents' social media accounts. Hundreds of entries celebrating Daniel's successes, the twins' milestones, and family gatherings. My existence was restricted to a solitary birthday wish last year, a generic "Happy Birthday, Emily," with no photo. I close my laptop and reach a choice. The following morning, I call my financial counselor, the Porsche Taycan Metallic Gray. I'd want to finalize the purchase today. 3 hours later, I am signing paperwork for a $120,000 automobile. It's lavish, superfluous, and precisely what I desire. I don't need my family's approval, but I've never needed their money. Back home, I take a single photograph of the automobile in my driveway, the afternoon sun illuminating its shiny sheen. I upload it on Instagram with the simple remark, "Dreams realized." Nothing happens for 3 days. Then, on Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang with a name I hadn't seen in 4 years. Mom was calling. My gut tightens as I respond. "Hello? Emily." Mom's voice has that distinct blend of authority and urgency that she saves for family emergencies. "We need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow." "Family meeting?" I repeat, my voice filled with astonishment. "After 4 years of silence, you are contacting to arrange a family meeting? This is important." She stops, and I hear Dad's voice in the distance. "Tell her it's important," he continues, as if I don't hear him. "What's important?" I inquire. My wedding wasn't important. My business wasn't important. What exactly matters now? Mom's voice tightens. "It's complicated. Financial issues. We need to discuss it as a family." "Yes, obviously." They noticed the automobile. They are aware of the acquisition. I'm suddenly reunited with my family. I say, "Tomorrow at 2, and hang up. The next morning, I sit in my new Porsche, the leather seat cool against my back. The 35-minute drive to my childhood home allows me to reflect on anniversaries celebrated without me, achievements that went unappreciated, and holidays spent alone while they gathered without me. I park in the circular driveway, my shiny gray Porsche seeming shockingly futuristic next to their traditional colonial. For a moment, I sit there with my hands on the driving wheel. I last stepped on that porch 5 years ago, to announce my engagement to Erin. Mom had nodded nicely as Dad checked his watch several times, apparently waiting for me to depart. They have never needed me before. Why now? My phone vibrates with Erin's text. "Remember who you are. Call me if you need extraction." I smile despite myself. As I bought a Porsche, my parents finally reached out. "Family meeting," Mom insisted. I walked in with a $14 million surprise, watching as the tables turned. I am alone in the bridal suite at Willamette Valley Vineyard, staring at my reflection in the full-length mirror. My wedding gown fits wonderfully, with every seam and crystal precisely where it should be. The makeup artist outdid herself. My eyes appear larger, my cheekbones more defined, and my lips a lovely hue of rose. The white flowers in my arrangement sit on the vanity, waiting. I check my phone for the 12th time in 20 minutes. No messages from Mom or Dad, and not even a text from Daniel. A faint knock on the door disrupts the silence. Rebecca, the wedding coordinator, pokes her head in, her rehearsed smile barely concealing her anxiety. "It's time, Emily. Are you ready?" My gaze moves to the window overlooking the wedding area. 70 visitors are sitting in tidy white chairs. The string quartet performs gently. Probabilities and oddities exist. 2 empty chairs in the front row look back at me, accusingly. They're not coming, are they? My voice shakes despite my best attempts. Rebecca's smile fades. "There's still time," she claims, but we both know it's a lie. I take a deep breath and smooth the silk in my gown. "Let's go." The garden doors open, and 70 heads turn to see me walk down the aisle alone. I sense their sympathetic gazes as physical touches. Little pats of sympathy that make my skin crawl. Some whisper under cupped palms. Others give supportive grins, which only add to the hollow ache in my chest. My attention shifts to Aaron, who is waiting at the altar, his gaze fixed on me. The affection emanating from him is almost enough to drown out the recollection of my mother's voice 3 days ago. "We'll try, sweetie. Daniel's firm has an event that weekend." Mom's dismissive tone pierced through the phone, as if she were declining a casual lunch invitation rather than her only daughter's wedding. "I can pay for the flights," I'd said. Desperation is clutching at my throat. "The hotel. Anything. Please, Mom." Dad's voice could be heard in the background. "Tell her we're busy." I put one foot in front of the other and force myself to breathe. In. Out. One step. Another step. I won't weep. I will not satisfy them, even in their absence. When I reach Aaron, he grabs my hands in his. His fingertips are warm, substantial, and real. "I'm here," he says quietly, too low for anybody else to hear. "We're enough." For a moment, I'm 6 years old again, standing in our living room while Mom and Dad argue about Daniel's argument trophy. They carefully place it on the mantel, stand back. to examine it from all angles, and take photos to give to relatives. My art contest certificate is forgotten in a kitchen drawer. I had displayed it to them earlier that day, proudly explaining how the teacher had claimed I had excellent talent. Mom had glanced at it and commented, "That's nice, honey," before returning to the dinner she was making. Dad later touched my hair absent-mindedly. "Daniel needs more support. He's going places," he replied when I inquired why they attended all of his events, but not my art show. "You understand, don't you, Emily? Mom, you never miss an opportunity. Why can't you be more like your brother? He focuses on what matters." I didn't. I tried harder after that. Academic honors, college scholarships, and commercial success. Each achievement a desperate attempt to divert their gaze in my way. Each one was observed with a distant acknowledgement, if at all. The ceremony proceeds around me. I repeat my vows, my voice becoming stronger with each pledge. "I choose a future based on seeing each other clearly," Aaron tells me. The words have more weight than anyone else. Yet he understands. When the officiant pronounces us husband and wife, Aaron's mother wraps me in a hug. "You're one of us now, dear," she says softly. And something tense in my chest relaxes somewhat. The photographer captures us on the dance floor, with Aaron twirling me under the string lights. His cousins join us, creating a circle of laughing and song. For brief times, I forget about the family-shaped hole in my celebration. I forget about the phone, which I have checked far too often. I forgot about the explanations I gave to curious guests. At the reception, Jessica, my college roommate, lifts her glass. "To finding the family who deserves you," she adds, keeping my gaze with strong loyalty. A murmur of agreement spreads through the throng. The sincerity of her remarks strikes me as a bodily blow. All these years, I've been invisible to the ones who should have seen me the best. I've been chasing approval from people who never meant to give it. When the jubilation dies down for a moment, I go away to check my phone one last time. There were no missed calls or messages, nor was there even a symbolic congratulations. Aaron finds me there, staring at a blank screen. "They missed something beautiful today," he adds, placing one arm around my waist. I glance up at him, the man who has never made me feel like I had to work for his attention. I think about his family, who accepted me wholeheartedly. I think about friends who came from all around the country to support me. I put the phone down. "Their choice," I remark, feeling lighter than I have in years and free from my load. And for the first time, I nearly believe it. 3 years later, I reclined back in my ergonomic chair, looking at the computer screen. Crescent Motion Studios' acquisition was completed for $18 million. 3 years of negotiations, 5 years of starting from scratch, and now 8 figures to prove it. My office door flies open, and my team rushes in with bottles of champagne and plastic glasses. To Emily. Rachel, my creative director, lifts her glass. The woman who built something from nothing, while certain people weren't looking. I smile, clinking glasses with the 10 people who, unlike my family, came out to support me. My phone vibrates as we celebrate. Instagram sent me a notification that Daniel had posted about his twins' private school fundraising. I should not look. I do it anyhow. There they are. Mom and Dad are surrounding Daniel and his wife, Olivia. Their identical daughters wore matching plaid uniforms. The caption reads, "Family tradition continues." This is the 3rd generation at Westridge Academy. Dad's arm is stretched across Daniel's shoulder. Mom beams at her granddaughters. I scroll through more pictures. Daniel's family took a vacation to Hawaii last month. The holiday party I was not invited to. Dad's retirement party. Each one resembles the ideal American family, sans one daughter. What the photographs convey is more telling than the images themselves. A vacation rental on Maui costs at least $5,000 a week. Westridge Academy charges $30,000 per year each pupil. Daniel's house, seen in numerous photos, is located in an area where nothing sells for less than $1.8 million. According to gossip from distant cousins who sporadically remember my existence, it was all paid by my parents' retirement savings and family investments. "Emily?" Rachel strokes my arm. "We lost you for a moment." I lock my phone screen. "Just checking messages. Where were we?" The party continues around me, but I'm mentally calculating. Daniel's law firm is fairly profitable, but not at a level that would sustain his lifestyle. My parents have been secretly supporting him for years, squandering their retirement to maintain his image. Meanwhile, my $18 million acquisition isn't worth a text message. After the team leaves, I go through my parents' social media accounts. Hundreds of entries celebrating Daniel's successes, the twins' milestones, and family gatherings. My existence was restricted to a solitary birthday wish last year, a generic happy birthday Emily, with no photo. I close my laptop and reach a choice. The following morning, I call my financial counselor, the Porsche Taycan metallic gray. I'd want to finalize the purchase today. 3 hours later, I am signing paperwork for a $120,000 automobile. It's lavish, superfluous, and precisely what I desire. I don't need my family's approval, but I've never needed their money. Back home, I take a single photograph of the automobile in my driveway, the afternoon sun illuminating its shiny sheen. I upload it on Instagram with the simple remark, "Dreams realized." Nothing happens for 3 days. Then, on Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang with a name I hadn't seen in 4 years. Mom was calling. My gut tightens as I respond. Hello? Emily. Mom's voice has that distinct blend of authority and urgency that she saves for family emergencies. We need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow. Family meeting? I repeat, my voice filled with astonishment. After 4 years of silence, you are contacting to arrange a family meeting? This is important. She stops, and I hear Dad's voice in the distance. Tell her it's important, he continues, as if I don't hear him. What's important? I inquire. My wedding wasn't important. My business wasn't important. What exactly matters now? Mom's voice tightens. It's complicated. Financial issues. We need to discuss it as a family. Yes, obviously. They noticed the automobile. They are aware of the acquisition. I'm suddenly reunited with my family. I say, tomorrow at 2, and hang up. The next morning, I sit in my new Porsche, the leather seat cool against my back. The 35-minute drive to my childhood home allows me to reflect on anniversaries celebrated without me, achievements that went unappreciated, and holidays spent alone while they gathered without me. I park in the circular driveway, my shiny gray Porsche seeming shockingly futuristic next to their traditional colonial. For a moment, I sit there with my hands on the driving wheel. I last stepped on that porch 5 years ago, to announce my engagement to Erin. Mom had nodded nicely as Dad checked his watch several times, apparently waiting for me to depart. They have never needed me before. Why now? My phone vibrates with Erin's text. Remember who you are. Call me if you need extraction. I smile despite myself. Another notice appears. An email from Sophia Turner. An investor who believed in crescent motion when no one else did. Your worth isn't measured by those who can't see it. One final warning. My assistant is confirming tomorrow's meetings. Don't let them take too much time. You have the production review at 4 o'clock. Come on then. I take a deep breath and recall my therapist's remarks from last week's appointment. Boundaries aren't punishments. They're safeguards. I straighten my shoulders and exit the car. Before I can knock, the front door opens. Mom and Dad stand there, their faces ranging from irritation to surprise as they take in the Porsche behind me. You've done well for yourself, Dad says. Not hello. Not, I've missed you. But a judgment of my financial worth. Yes, I respond simply. No hugs or warmth. They bring me to the dining room table, where Daniel and Olivia are already seated, their features expressions of faked concern. Emily. Daniel nods, as if we chatted last week rather than 4 years ago. Let's get straight to business, Dad adds, pulling out financial papers. I stand still, my bag clutched tightly in my fingers, the only visible clue of the struggle beneath my calm appearance. No. First, I'd like to know why I'm suddenly important enough to include in family discussions after being excluded from everything else for years. Mom and Dad trade looks. Daniel shifts uncomfortably. We can talk about it later, Mom replies, her voice falling into the dismissive tone I am all too familiar with. We have more pressing matters now. I'm not in a rush, I say, remaining standing. And I'm not interested in being convenient family only when you need something. For the first time in my adult life, I see my father's face filled with uncertainty. I understand they need me right now, and for once, I have the ability to control what happens next. My childhood home's dining room feels smaller than I recall. Michael sits at the head of the table, hands folded, as if he's presided over a corporate meeting rather than a family emergency. Victoria perches behind him, her posture impeccable despite the worry lines on her forehead. Across from me, Daniel slumps in his chair, his fancy shirt cuffs crumpled. Olivia sits next him, with a leather photo album open on her lap. It's foreclosure, Emily. Michael's voice is solid, but with an unsettling tremble. Daniel's mortgage is 2 months overdue, And the twins' private school tuition is unpaid for this semester. I don't say anything, letting the stillness stretch. After 3 years of no communication, this is what brings us together. Michael slips a document across the polished oak table, saying, "You need to help your brother." Loan paperwork has already completed out. Presumption steals my air. Think about your niece and nephew. Victoria's voice catches, a well-practiced hitch that would have left me racing to please her before. They're just children. They shouldn't have to suffer because of financial difficulties. Daniel leans forward, his gaze narrowing. We're family, that's what family does. When one of us succeeds, we help the others. Olivia flips the album open wider, pushing it toward me. They ask about Aunt Emily all the time. She shows me images of children I don't recognize, their smiles beaming at a birthday party I wasn't invited to. Michael clears his throat. Maddie wants to know why you never visit. We've done everything we could. Our retirement fund is... He pauses, exchanging glances with Victoria. We've been supporting them as best we can. The suggestion hung in the air between us. My achievement implies that I owe them. My independence is selfish in light of my family's needs. I close the photo album and slide it back across the table. Where were you at my wedding? I ask with surprising composure. Daniel blinks. What? My wedding. 3 years ago. Where were you? Victoria's hand flutters to her throat. We were busy. Daniel had that event with his firm. It wasn't convenient, Michael says, as if referring to a missed dinner gathering. I nod slowly, feeling something solidify inside me. And yet here you are now, because you saw the Porsche on Instagram. You only contacted me because you saw the car. Daniel flushes. That's not fair. Is not it? I sit up taller, feeling the power of financial freedom in my spine. Where there was once an anxious curve, there is now steel. I built everything myself. Every scholarship. Each client. Every late night. Where were any of you? Michael's eyes narrowed. What's that got to do with the current situation? Everything. I fold my hands on the table and match his posture. I'm listening. Tell me why I should write a check today. Daniel slams his hand upon the table. You always had to prove something. Always showing off how smart you were. How creative. How special. Some of us were just trying to live normal lives. Michael's hand rests on Daniel's shoulder. Your brother had more potential. We had to nurture that. You were always so... independent. We're still your parents, Victoria says softly, tears welling in her eyes. Despite everything. You were only parents by title. My voice remains firm, shocking even me. You missed my high school graduation, my college scholarship ceremony, the launch of my company, and my wedding. I tap the table for each missed milestone. You missed my life. And now you want to share in what that life has built. Emily, Michael begins. You didn't build this success, I say. You don't get to share it. My phone rattles in my pocket. I look down to see Aaron's message. You okay? Meeting running long. Inner asso. The sight of his name reminds me of Sophia Turner's words when she invested in my startup. You don't need approval from anyone who can't see your light. I think about my Crescent Motion crew. Their smiles shone as we celebrated the acquisition. People who decided to see me, to assist me, to believe in what I could create. My briefcase contains the contract for foundation money, signed by the board last Tuesday. People who entrust me with a purpose. Not only money. Michael pulls the loan paperwork closer to me. We're only asking for what's reasonable. Family helps family. The interest rate is quite fair, Victoria says, as if offering a favor. Daniel's sneer reappears. I'm confident now. Blood is thicker than water, Emily. I stand slowly, deliberately. The motion catches their attention, their bodies leaned forward, expectantly. I grab for my briefcase and place it on the table with a quiet thump. I've made a different decision, I'll reply. Daniel's gaze are fixed on my hands as I unlatch the briefcase. Michael moves forward in his chair. Victoria's fingers twirl the napkin on her lap. Instead of a checkbook, I take out a single document and place it on the table. This is the announcement for the Rivera Media Scholarship Foundation. $14 million to create opportunities for young women in digital media arts. I smooth the paper with my fingers. The press release goes out tomorrow morning. $14 million? Daniel chokes out the figure. Named after Miss Rivera, my high school media arts teacher. The woman who attended my gallery showings when my family was too busy. The money is legally protected in a foundation trust. The board approved the allocation last week. Silence descends like concrete across the table. I'm helping girls who never got the applause I didn't get, I remark, gathering my things. That's what family means to me. Daniel's face contorts, veins visible on his forehead. You're wasting it on strangers. On nobody girls who deserve better than what I got. I close my briefcase. Girls who need someone to invest in them. My parents are astonished, staring at the paper that symbolizes millions they will never touch. I pick up my phone and turn the screen toward them. A recording app shows an active timer from 36 to 14 and counting. I've also documented every manipulative message from today, I continue quietly. Every threat, demand, and guilt trip, just in case anyone gets creative with legal claims against the foundation. I approach to the door, my shoes echoing in the silence. Behind me I can hear Daniel's chair violently scrape back. You can't just leave. His voice crackles. We need that money. I pause at the threshold and do not turn back. No, Daniel. What you needed to do was show up. At my graduation, at my company's launch, at my wedding. I place my hand on the doorknob. But that opportunity has passed. The door closes behind me with a quiet click that resembles freedom. The Porsche purrs beneath me as I drive away from my childhood home, and my knuckles on the steering wheel are no longer white. My hands grow more steady as I progress. I tap the call button on my dashboard. It's done, I tell Aaron when he responds. They showed exactly who they are. How bad was it? His voice rings throughout the car. Each statement was tinged with concern. Exactly what we expected. I take a big breath and feel lighter than I have in hours. Daniel lost his mind when I showed him the foundation paperwork. Michael tried to salvage the situation, but Victoria just kept crying about family obligation. Are you okay? A fair question. I glanced in the rearview mirror, astonished to see no tears, no flush of humiliation, just a clear-eyed woman looking back. I'm better than okay. For the first time, I saw them clearly, without hoping for something different. I'm proud of you, Aaron declares. Remember, the foundation board meeting is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Everything is ready for the press announcement. The timing was planned. Before any family conflict occurs, lay the legal groundwork. Plan the announcement before they can regroup. There were no emotional pleas, only formal systems that they were unable to breach. The Rivera Media Scholarship would be my legacy, not a family drama. I'll be ready, I promise, the caller said. The first message arrives at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, my phone is buzzing non-stop with family emergency texts. I quiet it and set it face down on my nightstand. The home is quiet, save for Aaron's steady breathing next to me. I don't need to read their communications to find out what they contain. My mother leaves 5 voicemails in the morning, with her tone shifting from weepy pleas for family togetherness to scathing accusations of treachery, ending in warnings about what people will think of a daughter abandoning her family in their time of need. You've dealt with worse? I tell myself as I apply mascara, my morning routine keeping me grounded. My blue suit, which I wore to sign the acquisition paperwork, hangs on the closet door. Aaron serves me coffee in my favorite mug. Daniel's been calling business associates, he continues, thumbing through his phone. And your father attempted to contact my uncle. Predictable. I take a sip, the coffee harsh but comforting. They're moving faster than I expected, but not more cleverly. The foundation board meeting runs nicely. 10 prominent women from media and finance, all personally vetted and dedicated to promoting budding female artists. The press statement was approved unanimously. Launch information have been finalized. The first scholarship recipient will be chosen in 5 months. Janine from reception called as I was examining the event location proposal. Miss Rivers, your family has arrived and they're causing quite a scene. I can see security coming toward the lobby through the glass walls of my office. I straighten papers that do not require straightening. Have security escort them out, please, calmly and professionally. I look through the windows as my mother's voice rises over the usual office hum. My daughter is abandoning her family. Her hands sway madly, her pearl earrings bouncing. With them. Daniel stands alongside her, arms crossed, his face flushed with the shade of crimson he used to get when he was denied anything as a child. My staff looks to me for indications. I up, smooth my skirt, and proceed to my office door. It's being handled, I tell them, maintaining a serenity that I've rehearsed for this situation. Let us continue with our work. Security leads my family to the elevators. Daniel's voice echoes back. This isn't over. We have family obligations that you can't just ignore. That evening I compose a single email to all three of them. I have documented your harassment at my workplace. Any further attempts to contact me at my office will result in a formal complaint. All communication regarding family matters must be directed through my attorney, whose contact information is attached. Emily, direct and clear, my therapist Patricia remarks 2 days later. We sit in her bright office with the subtle aroma of jasmine tea between us. How did it feel sending that? Necessary. I trace the design on the armchair. Not satisfying. Exactly. More like setting a boundary, she says. Yes. I look up to her. They're showing who they've always been, aren't they? People tend to reveal themselves under pressure, Patricia explains. What you're seeing now isn't new behavior, just intensified. The understanding was simple, yet significant. I wanted their love, but they wanted my resources. That's an important distinction. Over the years, my voice has trailed off as relationships grow. Childhood neglect, missing parents, and the fact that they only appeared when I had something to contribute. It wasn't my job to earn their love. It was their job to give it freely. And now? Now I know I'm not responsible for fixing them, I remark, letting the reality sink into my bones. There's freedom in that. The next morning, Daniel informs the Portland Chronicle about a family disagreement. The reporter, smarter than Daniel expected, inquired as to why none of them had attended my wedding. The ensuing account offers an unintentional picture of Daniel's parents, who were missing during milestones but became attentive when money appeared. My mother's social media outburst results in an unexpected outpouring of support for me. Former classmates, work associates, and even distant relatives have reached out with notes of solidarity. We always wondered why they never talked about your success, writes a relative whom I haven't seen in years. Michael's attempts to reach my investors fail because they refuse to discuss a personal matter. Instead, the community rallies around the Scholarship Foundation, with applications pouring in months before it officially launches. The Portland Business Journal seeks an interview regarding the charity. I agree. Setting clear parameters, we'll discuss the scholarship's purpose and impact, not family matters. Delia Warren, a reporter, visits me at the foundation's temporary office space. This is an impressive initiative, she comments while reading the prospectus. $14 million is substantial seed funding. What inspired such generosity? I carefully choose my words. I had a teacher who saw potential in me when others didn't. Miss Carter changed my life by simply paying attention. I want to create that opportunity for young women who might otherwise be overlooked. You've built an impressive career, Delia says. Crescent Motion's acquisition was one of the biggest tech stories last year. Is your family proud? The question remains between us. I could avoid it and redirect to safer region. Instead, I meet her gaze straight. My success was built without family support. They weren't at my wedding, my graduation, or when I sold my company. Delia's pen pauses. That provides interesting context for the foundation's mission. Later that week, the article emerges with the heading, Self-Made Success Leaves a Legacy of Support. The contrast between my charity and my family's entitlement becomes a public story. When news of Daniel's foreclosure comes a few days later, the community links the dots without my intervention. Ethan is in charge of our home's improved security protocols. My business team is in charge of communication strategy, which includes screening communications and prioritizing foundation work. Sophia Turner, my first investor and mentor, has issued a statement supporting my dedication to raising others, rather than encouraging reliance. My college buddies form a protective circle, filling our calendars with dinners and parties that leave no time for discussing family turmoil. Patricia gives anchoring during the weekly sessions. The United Front forms its own kind of family, chosen, intentional, and supportive. 2 weeks after the confrontation, the Women in Media Alliance presented me with the Business Leadership Award. Standing at the platform, looking out at people genuinely happy for my victory, I realize the tables have fully turned. My parents' retirement plans have been delayed indefinitely. Olivia's social standing in her beloved country club circles has weakened as a result of their financial downfall. Daniel's twins will be transferring to public school next semester. Meanwhile, the nonprofit thrives, garnering good attention that extends beyond Portland. The narrative resonates not because I sought vengeance, but because I chose to turn my pain into meaning. The scholarship committee has chosen 2 finalists for the inaugural award. Janine tells me, setting the portfolios on my desk, they'd like your input by Friday. I open the first file and begin reading the work of a young woman whose teacher recognized her brilliance when no one else did. The cycle completes itself by healing via activity rather than looking back. Family is defined by what it does rather than what it purports to be. For the first time in my life, I actually feel noticed. In the weeks that followed, I erased the fourth voicemail from Aunt Meredith without listening past her appeal. Everyone misses you, Emily. The Thanksgiving invitation remains in my email inbox. The subject line, "Family needs to be together," is an obvious attempt at manipulation. My phone beeps with a text message from my cousin Lucas. "I don't understand this rift between you and Uncle Michael. Can't you just talk to them?" I see. Of course he does not comprehend. He didn't attend my empty wedding. He did not witness 20 years of invisibility. Mom's letter arrived yesterday. The exquisite penmanship is clearly hers. "We always believed in you," she wrote, seemingly rewriting our entire past. The envelope, "My wife cheated with a club DJ. I sipped whiskey, called a detective, then burned her entire world down with one flash drive. After a wild night at the club with the guy she was secretly seeing, my wife woke up in the hospital with a fractured leg and a humiliating statement cut into her back." You read that correctly. Carved. 3 bold, bloody words appeared on her flesh, right above her spine, in a font that no tattoo artist could ever replicate. "Property of a liar. Her lover." I'm hardly breathing in the ICU. Eyes slid back and tubes were everywhere. Cops are roaming the waiting room like hungry hounds. And me? I was at home sitting by the fireplace, sipping whiskey with his wife Candace, and watching the local news as the first reports of the club incident appeared on the television. My cell phone vibrated. Detective Elias. Unknown number. "Mr. Taylor, would you mind answering some questions?" I laughed, leaned back in my chair and muttered into the phone, "Of course, detective. I have nothing to conceal." Because I didn't. That night my alibi was solid. Candace and I had receipts, video, and meal witnesses. And I didn't touch either of them. But don't believe I wasn't involved. I was the mastermind behind that chaos. The calm storm behind the curtains. The man who watched his wife destroy everything we created before turning her game into a fucking war. Let us rewind. Because this problem did not begin with blood and sirens. It began with silence. With frigid shoulders, locked phones, and a perfume I couldn't recognize. Madison, my wife, had always been wild. Gorgeous. Unpredictable. Full of fire. That's what drew me in. But is that the same fire? It began burning me alive. About 6 months ago, she began dressing differently. Nights out transformed into no wake-ups. I suddenly became the dull husband with early meetings and a mortgage. She sought excitement. I showed her love. She handed me Tyler. Tyler King. Wannabe DJ. Gym rat, drives a Dodge Challenger, and wears sunglasses at night. The type of guy who believes that having bottle service elevates his status. He was everything I was not, and everything she was pursuing behind my back. How did I find out? No, not through text messages, not by catching her in action. No. It was her giggle. I hadn't heard that phony, high-pitched chuckle since college. She only used it when she was trying to get attention, like a schoolgirl. She thought I wasn't paying attention, but I overheard her giggling through the bathroom door while on speakerphone. I did not confront her that night. I waited. I was watching. I documented every falsehood, every sly maneuver, each late-night Uber journey. I let her believe she was astute as I was blind. But when she shared a tale from Girls' Night, and I zoomed in on the mirror reflection, behind her sunglasses, a sleeveless hoodie, and that stupid Challenger keychain, I knew. Tyler. That night I determined the game was mine. I did not yell. Did not yell. I didn't touch her. I smiled, kissed her cheek, and told her I loved her. Then I began making calls. Candace was the key, Tyler's wife. She'd suspected something for weeks but had no proof. Until I brought my receipts. Together, we became what Madison and Tyler could never be. Partners. And we planned the ideal stage. A club. A blackout. A backroom brawl that would not immediately affect us but would leave an indelible impression. Literally. What's the message on her back? That was Candace's idea. She explained that Madison needed to feel it. What a shame. The branding. The irreversible truth. Madison was discovered crying, wounded, and crawling in heels that she couldn't walk in. Tyler? He attempted to fight back. Things didn't go well for him. But like I said, I didn't touch them. And when the cops arrived, I gave them wine, smiled, and offered them a receipt for the nice meal I had with Candace across town. At 9:47 p.m., just as the paramedics were removing my wife from the club's toilet floor. But this? This is only the beginning. Because Madison has no idea, laying in that hospital bed, full of morphine and regret, that I am not finished. Not even close. This is not about getting even. It is about bringing the game to an end. Her betrayal violated the rules. Now, I set the rules. She opened her eyes in that sterile hospital room and stared at me, as if I were expected to care. I felt like I was supposed to bend in, grab her hand, kiss her forehead, and murmur, "It's going to be okay." No, Madison. You threw okay off a balcony the day you let that clown unzip your dress in the back of his filthy vehicle. Ethan, she croaked, raspy from painkillers. What happened? I reclined against the wall, arms crossed, as serene as a man watching his favorite movie. You tell me, I asked. Last time I looked, you were heading out for wine with Laura. How does one find a club toilet with a broken leg and a dress around their waist? She blinked. That identical small twitch in her left eye occurs when she is preparing to lie. I don't remember. I believe I was drugged. Of course. The classic escape path. Victim mode. I approached her bed, peered directly into her exhausted, stitched-up face, and murmured, "They carved the word liar into your back, Madison." That wasn't at random. She looked away. Good. That's when Candace entered the room. Madison's face was drained of color. Candace did not say anything. She simply stood at the door, like a shadow from hell. Arms folded. Seeing the woman who slept with her husband attempt to breathe through a cracked rib, Madison gasped. Why is she here? I grinned. Oh, she's with me. That struck her harder than the fractured leg. Are you serious? As a heart attack, I explained, drawing up a chair. See? While you were out doing your little sneak around. Candace and I were piecing everything together. Every deception, every deceptive message, every spa weekend that ended in cheap motels and bathroom stalls. I didn't mean, she began. No, I replied, cutting her off. You meant every second of it. You just didn't think I'd ever figure it out. You thought I'd keep playing the loyal husband while you played house with a guy who wears muscle tees in January. Tears welled in her eyes. Not actual ones. The type she used when she wanted something. You think I wanted this, she snarled. Do you think I planned for Tyler to get hurt? For me to end up like this? Candace finally stepped forward. No, she replied. You planned for me to never find out. You thought you were smart, Maddie, you were just loud. She dug into her backpack and threw a flash drive on the hospital tray. There's footage, Candace said coldly. The club's back cameras. Your husband and I made sure they were backed up. Madison's mouth opened and closed, like a fish breathing on dry land. This is insane, she muttered. You're framing me. No one needs to frame you, I replied. You already built the gallows. I stood up, grabbed my coat and glanced down at her. You know what hurts the most? I inquired. Not the affair, not even the lies. It's that you didn't even try to hide how little I meant to you. Her lips twitched. Ethan, please. I shook my head slowly. No, Madison. Save your breath. You'll need it to explain all this to your mom and the lawyer. Her eyes widened. Lawyer? I smiled. I'm divorcing you. You're going to lose the house, the car, and your social media deals. And when the nurses ask what happened to your back, you're going to have to lie again. Because the truth, I leaned in. The truth will humiliate you. Then Candace and I walked out. We didn't say anything till we got to the elevator. She turned to face me. You sure you're okay? No, I responded. But I'm done being quiet. And as the elevator doors closed behind us, I understood I was not broken. I was only getting started. Do you know what they don't tell you about revenge? It is not loud. It is not dramatic or messy. It's clean, precise, and surgical. And the best part? They never saw it coming. 2 weeks before Madison's hospital bed became her throne of humiliation, I was sitting in our kitchen pretending to be the oblivious spouse. Pancakes, coffee, false morning kisses. The full routine. Meanwhile, I coordinated with Candace like if we were organizing a wedding, not a takedown. We had everything. Phone records, private messages, and hotel reservations made under inept, phony names. Mr. and Mrs. Knight. Seriously. We were not simply watching them. We were analyzing them. Tyler had a routine. Every Friday after his gym session, he went to the same tavern on 8th Street. He thought he was slick, constantly parked behind the building and messaging Madison to wait 15 minutes so they wouldn't show up together. She'd wear the red leather jacket she purchased behind my back. The one I observed suddenly appeared without a receipt. She said it was Laura's present to me. Laura relocated to Chicago last year. Their favorite club? Velvet Room. A dark, neon-lit mess where intoxicated individuals became secrets and cameras constantly malfunctioned. Except one did not. That camera, which was mounted above the emergency escape, captured everything the night I put my plan into action. Candace and I had a friend on the inside, a bartender named Leo. He despised Tyler. He said he never tipped. So when we requested entrance to the secret back room, Leo smiled and answered, "I'll leave it unlocked." Madison arrived that night wearing heels that were excessively high for a woman trying to sneak around. Her lipstick had smeared before she even ordered a drink. Tyler greeted her like a loose dog, placing his hand on her waist and whispering filth into her ear. They disappeared into the back room, giggling. That was their final chuckle. See, Leo made sure the room was dark enough to be uncomfortable, yet bright enough to read the writing on the walls. And by wall, I mean Madison's back. I did not employ somebody to do it. That is the brilliance part. Tyler had enemies. Old deals have gone wrong. All I had to do was tell the appropriate person where he would be, with whom, and at what time. Madison was caught in the crossfire. And you know what? I do not feel awful. She engraved the betrayal long before anybody else did. The media caught on quickly. Club attack leaves 2 injured. Motive unknown. Photos leaked. The message on her back went viral. Property of a liar. T-shirts were printed. Memes exploded. And Madison? She could not delete quickly enough. Her modeling sponsors have dropped her. Fitness brands began to drop contracts. The influencer queen had become a punchline. And Tyler? He hasn't opened his eyes since the night it occurred. The ICU describes it as stable, but critical. Candace paid him a visit once. She told me she stood by his bedside and murmured, "I hope you hear this, Tyler. I hope you dream of it every night. You destroyed your family for a woman who can't even lie well." Cold. Perfect. Madison was unaware of the extent of the devastation when she returned home. She texted me, "Please talk to me. I never meant for it to go this far. I love you." I didn't respond because her love came in the form of moans behind my back and lipstick-stained falsehoods, and now it was my turn to disappear. I took time off from work, planned a brief trip, and left the house unoccupied. No note. There's no explanation. Allow her to sit in the solitude she created. Allow her to feel the echoes of what she broke. I wasn't gone forever. Just long enough. Long enough for her to worry if I would ever return. And long enough for me to decide whether I should. I disappeared for 5 days. No texts, calls, or status updates. It's just a blank place where I used to be. Madison had no idea where I had gone, and that was the objective. She needs to feel like I did for months. Ignored, puzzled, suspicious, and helpless. She needed to rot in that empty house, opening the door every 5 minutes as if I was going to walk in. But I was already on the opposite side of the country, somewhere pleasant and calm. I sat on a terrace at night with a bottle of bourbon and no recollection. There was nothing but wind and waves, and her voice was silent. I did not miss her. That's the most thrilling part. You believe you'll collapse without the person you've built your life around. But once the lies are exposed, all you feel is freedom. She tried to phone me 42 times. I did not pick up. She messaged my sister, emailed my work, and tried to reach Candace. This was a mistake. Candace texted her once, "He's done with you. Be done with yourself." I'm not sure what occurred after that, but I imagine Madison screaming at her phone in our old living room, surrounded by walls that echo her betrayal. On day 6, I flew home. No. Not for her, but for me. I needed to witness the destruction, to know that the storm had done its work. When I entered the house, it was dark. No candles, no phony romantic apologies. Just her, sitting on the kitchen floor in a sweatshirt and no makeup. Her eyes crimson, like a ghost who had forgotten to die. "Ethan," she exhaled, as if speaking my name provided her with oxygen. I didn't say anything. She got up slowly, hobbling slightly, her legs still recovering from the night that changed everything. "I thought you left for good." I shut the door behind me and dropped my luggage. I considered it. She leaned out and touched me. I took a step back. Her hand hung there, shaking, until she jerked it back as if it was burning. She said, "Can we please talk? I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve you, but I can't sleep. I can't eat. I feel like I'm going crazy." I almost laughed because I had gone insane first. Listening to her falsehoods night after night, and gaslighting myself into thinking I was paranoid. And now she was drowning in the poison she had spilled. She moved closer. "You didn't deserve what I did. But Tyler he made me feel something. I was scared, bored. I don't know. I just don't." I interrupted. "Don't you dare stand in front of me and say bored, like it's a valid excuse for betrayal." She started crying. "I made a mistake." "No," I snapped. "You made a series of choices, over and over, and now you're upset because your fun blew up in your face." She collapsed into herself, shaking. "I don't want to lose you." "You already did." Silence. Then softly. "What are you going to do?" I looked around the kitchen, where we used to eat breakfast, and the fridge was still covered in images of phony grins. "I'm going to finish what I started," I announced. Her eyes expanded. "What does that mean?" "It means I've already filed for divorce. It means I've already contacted your sponsors and sent them the full story, including the footage. It means I'm not just erasing you from my life." I leaned in closer. "I'm making sure the world sees who you really are." She collapsed on the floor, but I did not remain to witness. I walked upstairs, packed the rest of my belongings, and walked back down with only my keys. As I opened the door, she looked up with bulging eyes and uttered something I never expected. "Ethan, was it you?" I paused. She did not blink. "That night at the club, the carving, the cameras, the timing. Was it you?" I gazed at her for a long time. Then I smiled. "Doesn't matter now, does it?" I walked out. When I went out that day, I vowed never to speak to her again. However, fire does more than only burn down a house. It remains in the air long after the flames have died. And Madison, she was still standing in the smoke, choking on everything she never imagined would catch up with her. Within a week, she was everywhere, but not in the way she used to be. No more photo ops, vacation collaborations, or product sponsorships. There will be no more Madison Taylor lifestyle posts with phony grins and immaculate filters. The influencer community turned its back quickly. Screenshots of her texts were leaked on Twitter. Reddit received clips of her giggling with Tyler in the club's dim lights. Even her own supporters turned against her. The comment sections were harsh. "This is the girl who preached about loyalty? Karma sculpted her better than any tattoo artist could. Imagine ruining your marriage for a dude who can't even breathe on his own now." I did not post anything. I didn't defend myself. Did not need to. The truth possessed its own legs. I focused on rebuilding my life, minus the chaos. I moved into a clean flat with genuine silence. There are no scent clouds, and no second phone stashed in the drawer. Just myself, a couch, and the peace I had forgotten about. Nevertheless, the calls continued to come in. Blocked numbers. Unknowns. One night, I finally responded. "Ethan." Her voice was so frail it was hardly audible. I didn't say anything. She went on. "I know you detest me. I deserved it. But I have something to tell you that I have not told anyone else." I remained mute. "I'm being followed," she muttered. "I suppose there's someone observing me outside my flat. My tires got slashed yesterday night." My stomach wrenched, not out of terror, but because of annoyance. Are you sure Karma isn't making house calls? I replied harshly. I'm serious, she growled. This is not online hate. This is real. Someone is messing with me. Are you sure this isn't one of Tyler's other side pieces? Madison, you were not his only error. Silence. Then she said something that took the floor out from under me. I think it's someone you told. I froze. What? She kept her voice down. What transpired at the club that night was not a coincidence. You and Candace made a strategy. I know it. I don't care about the divorce, I deserved it. But whatever happened afterward, the stalking, the threats, I believe it was due to what you started. I clenched my jaw. No one's coming for you, Madison, I informed her. They already did. You survived, but someone's still playing, she said quietly. And I think they're not done. I hung up for the first time in weeks, and I didn't feel victorious. I sensed something darker. Not regret, not guilt, but something in between. What if someone did go too far? What if I opened the floodgates and something went loose in her world that I couldn't control? I attempted to brush it off. I told myself she was just terrified, paranoid, and spiraling like usual. But the next night, I received a call from Candace. Have you heard of Madison? She asked. Number what? She jumped outside her gymnasium. Black eye and broken wrist. He murmured, liar gets what she deserves. I sat down, my heart stopped. Candace halted. You haven't done this, right? No, I replied quickly. Did you? Of course not. Silence. So who the hell did? She asked. And for the first time I couldn't come up with an answer. I believed the game had ended. It turned out to be only a change of players. I didn't get much sleep the night Madison jumped. Not because I no longer cared about her, that part of me died the moment Tyler's name appeared on her lock screen. But because I had a scary realization. I was no longer the most dangerous person in her life. And that means things were heading in an unexpected direction. I texted Candace first. Ethan, we need to talk. Tonight. She responded instantly. Candace. This is my place. 8 p.m. No phones. That final bit chilled me. When I arrived, she had already poured 2 glasses of wine and covered the windows as if we were prepared for battle. Talk, she said. There's no small talk or hugs, just straight to business. I didn't send anyone after her, I told her. You didn't either, right? Of course not, she responded, plainly insulted. I wanted justice, not a felony. We sat there in silence for a long while. I could hear the fridge hum and the occasional car driving by outside. But inside it felt like the stillness before a bomb. Candace eventually shattered it. There's someone else involved. I nodded slowly. Do you think you are one of Tyler's enemies? She stared at me, her expression serious. Tyler did not only cheat on me, Ethan. He owed others. There are many people. She went over to a drawer and took out a folder. Old school. Thick with printed papers, photographs and messages written in red ink. I did some digging, she explained. After everything exploded, I became inquisitive. Tyler used to operate scams, including cryptocurrency pumps, bogus events, and debt collection fronts. He screwed a lot of people. I flipped through the folders. A single name stood out. I'm Brandon Malaloy. Who is this? I asked. She averted her gaze for a moment before responding. Tyler owed someone $60,000. Someone who went to prison for serious assault 3 years ago and was released 3 months before all of this happened. I felt my throat tightening. Do you think he is after Madison? Candace nodded. If he thinks she was part of it or just close enough to matter, then yeah. I leaned back and rubbed my temples. This was not part of the plan. I wanted her disgraced and ruined online, not beaten to death in a parking lot. Candace sat alongside me and said something unexpected. You should warn her. I laughed bitterly. After what she did to us? She glanced at me with a softer expression. This is not about forgiving. It's about not reverting to their previous state. We planned vengeance, not destruction. I gazed into her eyes and saw something familiar. No love, no pity. Just the expression of someone who has been through fire and did not want to see someone else burn like that. So the following morning, I did it. I phoned Madison. She picked up on the first ring. Ethan, her voice crackled, exhausted. Listen carefully, I said. You are in danger, and it isn't from me. Tyler screwed someone over. His name is Brandon Malaloy. Silence, followed by a whisper. I recognize that name. Tyler mentioned him once. He threatened to murder him if he escaped. Well, guess what? I replied. He's out, and he might think you're part of Tyler's games. She did not speak. I'm not calling again, I stated. Get out of town. Now. I hung up before she could speak. Because, as much as I despised her, I was not going to let her die. Not like this. But I had no idea Brandon was pursuing more than just her. He was looking for anyone who had ever had an impact on Tyler's life. And that included me. I believed I was out, finished, free, and clean. But Brandon Malaloy had a different perspective. It began with a note. No envelope, no return address. Just a bit of paper stuffed under the door of my apartment. Written in all caps and black ink. You played a part. Now pay a price. I stared at it for quite a while. The handwriting was jagged and aggressive, as if someone had slashed each letter into the paper. I did not panic. I did not call the police. Not yet. Instead, I checked the hallway cameras. Nothing. The video cut out at about 2:16 a.m. and 2:24 a.m. Perfect blackout window. Classic move. Whoever did this knew how to move. That means it was time to stop pretending that this was only Madison's problem. I phoned Candace. She answered the second call. He found me too, she replied before I could say anything. There was a dead bird on my porch this morning. The neck snapped. Jesus. All right, I replied, pacing. We need to meet. Find out how deep this goes. No, she replied bluntly. We have to disappear. Only for a while. This is not a joke anymore. She was correct, but I wasn't prepared to run. Not yet. Because this wasn't simply a threat. It was a message. And the messages were meaningful. I dug in. I called an old friend named Drew, who owed me a favor from college. A guy who is now deeply involved in cybersecurity. Drew could make secrets scream. I sent him the note and handed him everything Candace discovered in that folder. Names, dates, deals Tyler had touched, and people he had duped. Drew followed up with me a day later. Ethan, he murmured quietly. You're on a list. My blood became chilly. What type of list? He exhaled. Brandon Malaloy kept records while inside. Letters, names, connections. You, Candace, and Madison. Tyler's former gym trainer was also involved. All have been flagged. Some of them have crimson ink. What does that mean? Inmate code. Red ink means final. I sat down hard. My hand felt shaky. He's not looking for vengeance, Drew continued. He wants to purify. He believes Tyler's associates conspired to defraud him. It makes no difference whether it is true or false. I hung up without saying goodbye. It wasn't just a grudge. It was a campaign. And I was next. That night I prepared a go bag. Only the essentials. I changed my phone. I wiped my laptop. And I did something else that I promised not to do. I phoned Madison. She spoke up, her voice faint and breathy. Hello? It's me. You should leave town, tonight. I'm already gone, she explained. I checked into a motel 2 states away. I didn't expect you to call. I had to, I explained. We're all targets now. She was silent for a second. She then said something unusual. Ethan, do you think I earned all this? I halted. No, I replied. You deserve to be exposed. Not hunted. I didn't know Tyler owed that man, she said quietly. I didn't know any of it. It doesn't matter now. Just stay low. I miss who we were, she said, like a child clutching to a bedtime story. That person died the moment you let someone else into our bed, I informed you. I then ended the call. Candace and I met one more time before leaving town. There were no tears. There's no romance. Just a strategy. We disappear, she remarked. There are no numbers, no social media, and nothing that links us back. We agreed. I was almost ready to leave when she touched my arm. If we survive this, she said softly, We will never talk about Tyler again. I nodded, but deep down I knew this would not end in silence. It would end with someone bleeding. I should have vanished, taken the new name, the prepaid phone, the blank slate, and simply vanished. But I did not. Because when you've been hunted, truly hunted, the only thing worse than fear is not knowing when it'll strike. So I quit running. I called someone I had not spoken to in years. Marcus Wells. Ex-military. Ex-felon. Now a private security ghost who handles non-newsworthy matters. He owes me one. I cashed in. Brandon Malaloy, I informed him. He is circling me and a few others. I want it to stop. Paper trail? He asked. None, I replied. But I have names and faces, a dead bird, a threat note, and a blackout security camera. He is trying to make a point. Marcus did not hesitate. I'll find him. 3 days later, I received an SMS. We found him. Philadelphia alone. I want a conflict. I booked the next flight. There is no return ticket. I didn't intend to fight, but I needed to see him, to face the man whose wrath had swallowed my history, my ex-wife, and all that once seemed like a future. The meeting took place in a dilapidated warehouse just outside Kensington. Classic cliché. Cracked windows, rusted gates, and blackness as dense as smoke. Marcus waited at the exit, merely a shadow on a brick wall. He's inside, he explained. But I'll warn you, he's not right in the head. Neither am I said, stepping inside. The area smelled of oil and something unpleasant. Rats scurried across beams. Then I saw him. Brandon, mid-40s, shaved head, large hands. The type of guy who seemed like he could break your back with a handshake. He sat on a folding chair, a switchblade in his hand, and smiled as if the devil knew your secrets. You're Ethan, he replied without looking up. Yeah. You helped ruin me, he said, as if it were a compliment. You and your bitch of a spouse. Her partner believed he could outsmart me. It turns out that betrayal goes in circles. I moved closer. This ends now. He chuckled. Do you think you can threaten me? No, I replied. I came to offer a deal. He raised an eyebrow. Leave Candace and Madison alone. You vanish. In return, I move away and allow you to continue breathing. The smile widened. Why should I believe you? Because I brought something you want. I dropped the flash disk on the ground between us. These are Tyler's contacts. The actual ones. His encrypted files. Every fraud. Every empty wallet. Every penny he ever moved. Brandon's expression changed. Quiet. Hunger. He picked up the drive carefully, his gaze fixed on mine. Are you telling me that this will refund my money? More, I replied. It provides you leverage, power. But only if you leave the rest of us alone. He rose up and walked up to me, close enough that I could smell the tobacco on his clothing. I could kill you right now. You could, I replied. But then this deal vanishes, and you spend the rest of your life running from ghosts and cops. We were staring at each other. A long, silent war, in a single glance. Then he took a step back. Deal, he mumbled. And just like that, it was over. I left that warehouse feeling like a man reborn via hellfire. Madison never called back. Candace disappeared as promised, and I respected her decision. The silence you fought for can often be the only way to find closure. What have I learned? That treachery causes scars that no one sees. That love is equally harmful as hate. And that revenge does not always bring healing. It just sets you free. If you're reading this and wondering what to do when the person you most trusted stabs you in the back, here's some advice. Don't pursue justice. Thanks for watching and being part of the drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a wild news story. My parents gave my brother a luxury birthday weekend. I got a card that said, maybe next year. So I quietly booked a one-way flight. My name is Leo. I'm 27 and have always been the quiet one in the family. Not in a shy, shrinking violet way, but as someone who learned early on that speaking up often resulted in an eye roll, a dismissive laugh, or a, don't be so sensitive, from my mother. It wasn't always this way. Perhaps it was, and I just didn't realize it as a kid. But I do now. It was especially evident on my birthday this year, when everything that had been simmering beneath the surface for years came to a boil. Let me clarify. My younger brother, Victor, turned 25 in March. Our parents treated him to what can only be described as a luxurious weekend retreat. They leased a lake house 3 hours out of town. A modern glass lodge complete with a wraparound deck, hot tub, fire pit, and private dock. They brought in 2 of his out-of-state pals and hired a private chef for the weekend. The photographs were shared all over Facebook. My mom captioned the photos, "So proud of our baby boy. Celebrating Victor in style. He deserves the world." There were group photos of them drinking champagne, fishing, playing poker, and laughing around a campfire. One photo featured Victor with the message, "A king deserves a castle." I did not like the photographs. I did not make a comment. I didn't say anything actually. However, that was the first time I felt it in my chest. Not jealousy, but a subtle, creeping knowledge that they would not do this for me. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't believe I was worth it. Still, I brushed it off. Victor has always been the golden child. He's boisterous, charming, and naturally social. Growing up, I was the straight A student, the one who did not cause trouble and remained up late studying rather than sneaking away. That rendered me invisible. But I imagined they'd do something special for my birthday. My birthday was 2 weeks ago on April 5th. I cleared the schedule just in case. I didn't make any plans with friends. I didn't book anything myself. I didn't want to disrupt any surprise plans, you know? Around 1 p.m., I received a text from my mother. "Stop by the house when you're free today." That was it. No exclamation point. No happy birthday. Nothing. I sighed but went. I told myself she was probably just keeping it cool. Perhaps they were planning something little yet meaningful. I arrived around 3 p.m. Victor was on the couch, going through his phone. Dad was out back mowing the yard. Mom was in the kitchen, humming. When she spotted me, she grinned as if I had stopped in on a Tuesday. "Oh hey Leo," she said. "You made it." I stood in the entryway for a moment. "Yeah, you said to stop by." She nodded, cleaned her hands with a dish towel, and reached inside the refrigerator. "I picked up a cupcake for you," she explained, placing it on the counter. It was one of those basic grocery store cakes. Chocolate foundation, white icing, and no candle. She handed me a card in a plain white envelope that was already half opened. Inside was a folded piece of cardstock with the words, "Maybe next year," written in metallic letters. That was it. No personalized message. Not a joke. Just that. Victor did not even look up. I offered a little laugh, more out of surprise than amusement. "That's it?" My mother raised her eyebrows. "Excuse me? This is it? A store-bought cupcake and a card that literally says, 'Maybe next year'?" She leaned on the counter, arms crossed. "Don't be so sensitive, Leo. You're an adult. We figured you didn't need all the hoopla." But Victor got a whole weekend retreat, a chef, a cabin, a crown that said Birthday King. "Well, Victor's been going through a hard time," she yelled. "And he's more celebratory. You're so private. We didn't think you'd want a big fuss." I just stood there, the card limp in my palm, and the cupcake began to sweat under the fluorescent lights. My face felt flushed, but my voice remained calm. "It's not about a big fuss. It's about the difference." She rolled her eyes. "Honestly, Leo, this is exactly why we didn't plan anything. You always make everything about you." That did something to me. Something deep. I'd spent most of my life justifying this type of treatment, convincing myself they meant well, and that I was only imagining things. But at that point, I recognized it wasn't me. It never was. I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I simply reached into my jacket pocket, brought out my phone, and took a snapshot of the lone cupcake resting next to the card. I looked at my mother and replied, "Thanks." Then I turned around to leave. I got in my car, drove straight to my apartment, and scheduled a flight to Lisbon for the following morning. I had been saving for a vacation for 2 years, waiting for the ideal time. So, this was it. That night as I was packing, my father texted me. No greetings, just say, "Where did you go?" I didn't respond. Instead, I shared a photo on Instagram of myself at the airport lounge, boarding pass in hand. The title, Birthday Retreat. No chef required. Victor liked it after about an hour. So did my cousin Danielle. Then I noticed Mom had viewed my story. 10 minutes later, her name flashed on my screen. I let it ring. Then I silenced it. I sat back, sipped my drink, and awaited the next ping. It did not take long. Another call. Then a text. Leo, this isn't funny. Call me. But I was not trying to be funny. I was done being an afterthought. I was finally putting myself first. And Lisbon? Lisbon was only the beginning. I arrived in Lisbon early the next morning, just as the sun was shining gold on the terracotta rooftops. The air was cool and crisp, with a faint scent of ocean and pastry. When I stepped out of the airport, I took a deep breath and felt lighter than I had in a long time. Not in a holiday sense, but more like a weight had been silently taken off my back. One I had no idea I had been carrying for the majority of my life. My hotel was a modest space nestled between two faded pink buildings in the Alhama neighborhood. It had uneven walls and a little balcony that overlooked the city. I sat on the bed, and it creaked. The flooring was old but tidy, and it felt familiar. Like no one here anticipated anything from me or predetermined who I was before I ever talked. I didn't answer my folks' texts. Not right away. Not after the fourth call either. The tone of the messages only shifted after I shared a snapshot of a pastel de nata on my account with the phrase, Breakfast of Kings. At first, it seemed confusing. You're in Portugal? Is this a work trip? You didn't tell anyone you were leaving. Then came the guilt. We just wanted a low-key day. Victor didn't even ask for all that stuff. We just thought he needed it. It was supposed to be funny, the card. You're taking it too seriously. But the last one from my mother resonated with me. You always act like we treat you so horribly, but you never say what you actually want. Maybe if you spoke up more, things would be different. That's when I realized, she didn't get it. She never had. This wasn't because I wanted balloons and a party. This was not about jealousy. This was about years of being ignored, dismissed, and told I was too quiet or sensitive if I brought it up. It was about them going above and above for Victor, while I became background noise, acknowledged only when it was convenient, or when I stopped playing along. On the second night, I sat in a little fado tavern, drinking my drink, while a woman sang in tears. I stared at my phone, her voice haunting and gentle behind me, and eventually texted my father back. I went somewhere I mattered. I did not hear back immediately away, but the next day, I received a group message. It came from Victor. Dude, what is going on? Mom's freaking out. She thinks you're disappearing or something. She's calling every cousin asking where you are. And why are you being so dramatic? It was just a cupcake. Grow up. I didn't respond to that one either. Instead, I browsed Airbnb and extended my stay. 2 more weeks. I started developing lists of what I wanted to see. Crazy. Maybe even visit Spain. I had not even informed my employer that I would be gone for this long. But, after years of not using my vacation days, they owed me. And I owed it to myself. By the 5th day, the story at home had transformed. My aunt messaged me unexpectedly. Heard you're in Europe. Good for you. You deserve some spoiling. Let me know if you want the family to back off. Then I received another message from my older cousin Greg, whom I hadn't seen in years. Bro, I remember your 18th birthday. You got a card and a handshake. Victor got a car at 18. Just saying, you're not crazy. I stared at it for a time. I was not crazy. I was not overreacting. I had grown accustomed to being treated as an afterthought, so when I pushed back, everyone acted as if I had lost my mind. But here's the thing about space. It gives you perspective. And as I wandered through cobblestone alleyways and watched sunsets over the Tejo River, I began to realize that perhaps I was never the problem. They didn't like it when I quit performing my role. By the 7th day, things at home had reached a new level of chaos. My mother had shared a cryptic statement on Facebook. When your children vanish on you without a word, you start to wonder if the world is upside down. It received nearly 60 comments. A few relatives responded with, "Hope everything is fine," or "Message me." One even tagged me. I did not respond. Instead, I shared a photo of myself at a cafe in Belém, wearing sunglasses and smiling. Caption. Sometimes the best birthday gift is peace. Not 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom again. I ignored it. Then a message arrived, this time not from my parents, nor from Victor. It was from my father's work email. Leo, please call me, this is getting out of hand. I sat back. Why would he text me from work? Then, almost shortly after, another communication arrived from my boss. Hey, your mom called the office looking for you, said it was urgent. Everything is all right? My hands got cold. They weren't simply panicking, they were escalating. People who had no business being involved in this. And I realized it wasn't just about my birthday anymore. This was about control. About how they'd always kept an eye on me, defined me, and boxed me in. And how suddenly, when I stepped outside their bounds, they tried to drag me back like a stray dog. I took a deep breath, my heart beating, and typed one last message. You didn't worry when I was at your house holding a cupcake alone. Don't start worrying now. I'm fine. I'm just not coming back the same. And I intended it. Because the old version of me, the one who tolerated the silence, minimizing, and guilt trips disguised as jokes, was not on this trip. He stayed at home, next to the sad cupcake on the kitchen counter. But what about the version of me who was sipping cappuccino under the Lisbon sun? He was only getting started. And the second thing I did was make it very apparent that I was no longer seeking their consent. The next morning I awoke to a dozen missed calls. 2 from my father, 3 from my mother, and 1 from Victor. The rest are unrecognizable numerals. Probably my mother phoning from multiple phones. Or worse, the family she had drawn into the turmoil. But I didn't care. I was done being the obedient son who always kept the peace. The person who said, "It's fine," when it obviously wasn't. I wasn't going to repeat the same scenario in which I arrived, was overlooked, and then had to apologize. After brushing my teeth, I walked to a tiny bakery near my hotel. The woman behind the desk greeted me as she did every morning. Warmly, cheerfully, and with a genuine grin. I got 2 cakes and a coffee, then grabbed a seat outside. The sky was a lovely blue, striped with clouds, and the street below was waking up. Locals sweeping their stoops, children walking to school, and a man selling books from his wooden cart. I observed them with a peculiar sense of envy. These strangers had no idea who I was, what my background was, or why I was fleeing. However, they treated me better than my own family did. And the revelation hit me harder than I anticipated. That afternoon, I tried something I had never done before. I switched my phone off. Totally off. Not silent. Not set to do not disturb. I turned it off and left it in the hotel room. Then I wandered for hours through twisting alleys and open plazas, past historic churches and bright murals. I got lost in Barrio Alto, and wandered into a small gallery where a man painted pictures from his dreams. He stated I had sad eyes and strong shoulders. I laughed and told him it was perhaps the most truthful thing anyone had said to me this year. I didn't think of my mother, my father, the cupcake, or Victor's lake house vacation. Instead, I thought about myself. Who I was before I had to shrink to fit into the place they gave me. That night, I purchased a journal. First page I wrote, "You are not selfish for choosing yourself." Second page. They only call it overreacting when they don't like the reaction. On the third sheet, I documented all of the times I was shoved to the side. My 18th birthday was forgotten until dinner, when they gave me a $20 gas card, whilst Victor was treated to a party with friends and a football-shaped cake. They arrived late and left early for Victor's soccer game, despite my valedictorian speech. Christmas 2 years ago, I purchased thoughtful gifts for everyone. Victor completely forgot about mine. Her response was, "He's just busy. Don't guilt trip him." The list went on. It was not about the gifts. It was a pattern. The message, "You are not the first priority. You aren't even close." The next day I turned back on my phone. It detonated immediately. A deluge of texts, voicemails, missed calls, and unexpectedly, screenshots. Someone had obviously spotted my Instagram post and shared it in the broader family group chat. Now uncles and aunts were chiming in. Some were sympathetic. "Leo, I had no idea. That post broke my heart. You always were so quiet. Maybe too quiet. I wish I'd said something." Others, not so much. Running off and airing dirty laundry on social media? Not the adult thing to do, so dramatic. Everyone gets a cupcake birthday once in a while. Then came the one that sent everything over the edge. My mother had emailed a photo of my empty childhood bedroom. The furniture was rearranged. The bed was gone. My books are boxed up. My workstation has been replaced with a treadmill. She captioned it, "Didn't think you were coming back. Figured we'd use the space." There is no, "I love you," no, "Come home when you're ready," and no apology. Just that. They treated me as if I were a nuisance that they were glad to get rid of. I sat there staring at the television, teeth clenched, heart pounding. And something inside of me flipped. Not sad, not anger, but something colder and clearer. Resolve. I took a deep breath and responded with a single message. You don't have to make space for me. I've already found mine. And then I did something they never expected me to do. I logged into my bank account. I'd been discreetly saving for years. While Victor wandered from job to job, relying on my parents whenever rent was due, I established something tangible. Investments, a thriving side business, and a six-figure safety net. And now I was going to use it, not only for plane tickets and croissants, but for something more substantial. A few phone calls, paperwork, and a leap of faith. By the end of the week, I had signed the lease for a little flat in the heart of Lisbon. Brick walls, open windows, and a writing nook facing the street. It was not fancy, but it was mine. Then I did one more thing. I wrote an email. A basic and polite message. Not furious or dramatic. Subject: resignation notice. I said I was looking for new chances abroad and thanked them for everything. I didn't mention my mother, her calls to the office, or how humiliating that was. But I believe my supervisor understood. She responded 15 minutes later. We'll miss you, Leo. But good for you. Go live your life. And that was all. The ties were cut. No more calendar reminders for family birthdays that I'd forget about. No more turning up out of obligation. There will be no more explanations for why I did not put in more effort. I had worked tirelessly for years. Be quiet, patient, and nice. And I was finished. But just when I believed the story had achieved a quiet, serene conclusion, just when I thought they would finally let it go, something occurred. Something drew me right back in. Something made all the calls, shame, and stillness seem like child's play in comparison. And when I discovered what they did next, I realized they weren't just trying to get me home. They were attempting to eliminate me. I found out on a random Thursday morning. I'd just finished a walk along the waterfront. I have coffee in my hand and the sun is on my back. Life was quieter now. More still. I'd adapted to the pace of Lisbon as if it were always mine. No more checking my phone every several minutes. No more jumping at the sound of a buzz or pondering what kind of guilt trip would follow. I had learnt to dwell in the space between breaths, to sit silently without needing to fill it. But that morning, I received an email from Jason, an old college acquaintance. We hadn't spoken in almost a year, but I remembered him being friendly with Victor once. The topic line was short. Saw this. Thought you should know. The email contained simply one sentence. Your brother posted this. I sent a screenshot of Victor's Facebook post. The caption reads, Family isn't about who runs off when things get hard. It's about who stays. I'm proud to be here helping Mom and Dad rebuild after Leo's betrayal. There was a photograph underneath it. My old room. Overpainted with a sterile beige. The bookshelves were cleared. My college diploma, which had hung on the far wall for years, was gone. In its place was a framed photograph of Victor shaking hands with a local business owner. The caption under the image read, New beginnings. The comments were far worse. Aunt Marissa's greeting. So proud of you for stepping up. Leo always was different. Shamey, my cousin's wife. Couldn't just talk to the family. Vanishing like that. Immature. And then the kicker, from my own mother. Sometimes the prodigal son doesn't return. But the son who stays builds the future. My hands become numb. I read the sentence 5, 6, and 7 times. They weren't simply deleting me from the room, they were altering the story. Suddenly, I wasn't the calm, steady one who maintained the peace. I was the son who ran. The one who left them behind. The one who did not care. Victor wasn't the golden boy anymore. He was the rescuer. The martyr. The one who stayed to assist mom and dad during their difficult time, which they made for themselves. But this is what impacted me the hardest. They knew I would not defend myself publicly. They were banking on it. They knew I despised drama, confrontation, and show. They expected me to watch calmly from across the seas, as they changed the truth. That's when I made my decision. No more silence. No more disappearing to maintain the peace. I opened my laptop and started typing. I did not write a harsh or nasty post. That is not who I am. But I wrote the truth. Calmly. Carefully. Like someone laying down receipts after years of being questioned. I posted it. With no photograph. Just words. For those who have heard a story about me, here is mine. I didn't run away. I did not abandon anyone. I just quit trying to gain the affection and respect that should have come naturally from the folks who reared me. On my brother's birthday, our parents leased a lake house, hired a special chef, and treated him royally. On mine, I got a solitary store-bought cupcake and a card that said, "Maybe next year." When I communicated my pain, I was told I was being overly sensitive. I photographed the present, quietly left, and booked a flight to Lisbon. That decision was not a temper tantrum. It was a boundary. For years, I fulfilled the role they required. Quiet. Helpful. Low maintenance. I watched as my milestones were skipped, my triumphs were minimized, and my emotions were discarded. And still, I remained loyal. I was given the benefit of the doubt. I showed up. Until I discovered that showing up for people who don't show up for you is not honorable. It is self-abandonment. I've gotten dozens of texts since my departure. Some are kind, while others are harsh. To those who say I should have just spoken up, I did. Multiple times. It didn't really matter until I stopped playing along. I don't want pity. I don't need applause. I just want the truth to exist somewhere free of guilt trips and half-truths. I did not run. I choose serenity. And sometimes, choosing peace entails walking away from those who refuse to see you clearly. I clicked on a post. Then I switched my phone off again. For 2 days. When I turned it back on, I wasn't expecting what I saw. Hundreds of comments. Dozens of messages. My tale has been spread, screenshotted, and reposted. People, friends, distant relatives, and even strangers were joining in. This hit me hard. I've been the background sibling too. Thank you for saying what so many of us can't. This is why emotional neglect is so hard to explain. It's invisible. Until it's undeniable. Only one message stuck out. It came from Danielle, a cousin on my father's side. We hadn't spoken for years. "Leo, I always thought something was off with how they treated you. I just didn't know how to say it. I'm sorry. I see you. And I'm glad you got out." That marked the beginning of additional voices emerging. Not everyone supported me. Some doubled down. My mother, inevitably, sent another passive-aggressive message. Some people air their wounds instead of healing them. Victor texted me once. "Congrats on your little pity parade. You always love playing the victim." I did not respond. Because I wasn't playing anymore. I was finished performing. And life gradually began to fill with genuine things. I joined a writing club in Lisbon. I landed a part-time job editing English-language pieces for a travel magazine. I started cooking again, which I hadn't done since college. I made buddies. Real ones. Friends who knew nothing about Victor, the cupcake, or the place where I used to live. Friends laughed at my humor, not at me. Who welcomed me out without any expectations. Who listened when I spoke. A month after the piece became popular, I received an email from a publisher who had seen it and wanted to discuss developing it into a memoir. I was unsure at first. But then I remembered every communication I had received. People say I put into words what they've been feeling for years. Maybe my story wasn't unique. Perhaps it also served as a mirror for others. And perhaps, just maybe, my voice, which had previously been discarded as too quiet, was suddenly loud enough to matter. I accepted the deal. A year later my book was released in 11 countries. Maybe next year, choosing yourself when they never did. The dedication page stated simply, "For the kids with cupcakes and cards who kept waiting for next year. Your piece doesn't need their permission." My parents never communicated again. Victor did it once. They sent me a screenshot of the book cover and said, "Hope the attention was worth it." I didn't respond. Because it was never about getting attention, it was about the truth. And when truth is said clearly, it echoes in ways that silence cannot. So, here I am. I live in a sunny apartment on a quiet Lisbon street. Writing, laughing, loving, not too loud, not perfect, but totally. Finally, and when April 5th comes around every year, I don't wait for a text. I get myself the largest, fluffiest cupcake in the bakery, with candles and sprinkles, and a handmade message nestled below it that states, "You're worth celebrating. This year. Every year." And for the first time in my life, I actually believe it. My sister cried, "Family shares everything." But I had already shared, for 2 years, $7,000 a month, quietly, while they said I lived off them. My name is Beatrix. In my Minnesota lakeside village, winters were lengthy, and everyone knew each other. As a kid, my family seemed normal. My mom was a county hospital nurse at night and my dad taught high school physics. Not affluent, not impoverished. Once, as an only child, I thought everyone loved me. Dad took me fishing every weekend, and Mom groomed my hair before work. We ate ice cream on the porch and listened to cicadas on summer nights. I considered that a warm family. It ended on a frigid January night when I turned 8. I woke up to urgent pounding and flashing lighting in the driveway at night. My Aunt Evelyn entered the house with a pale face and urged me to fetch a coat and other items. Mom was hospitalized, she claimed. After being born 2 months early, my sister needed special care. I was too young to understand. Yet that night altered everything. Lily, a tiny red living thing surrounded by tubes and machinery, lay still in an incubator. I couldn't approach her. "We can't risk her getting sick," Mom said, watching the heart monitor. She slowly drew away as I touched her hand, like I was a threat. Everything revolved around Lily after she arrived home. Sanitizer in every room, air purifiers 24/7, and a bleach smell that burned my throat made our house sterile. Mom took me to Grandma's when I coughed or sneezed. It felt good at first. Grandma made delicious apple pie and saved me books. I slowly understood I wasn't welcome at home. They worried I might hurt Lily, their hope. I aced my first 3rd grade math test. I brought it home expecting Mom to place it on the fridge as she did. After reading the paper, she asked Dad if he had tissues for Lily, who looked stuffy. Father nodded and said, "Good job," without a hug or smile. Just finished. I tried everything to get their attention. Sketched images, won first in the school science fair, and told Mom about my great book reading. Every attempt was denied. "Lily has a fever. She's asleep. She needs rest. Beatrix, please be quiet." My invisibility was enhanced. I kept to myself since Lily was irritated by my peppermint oil-scented chamber. Therefore, she was denied entrance. In the only place that seemed like mine, I studied art history, antiques, and the imaginary worlds behind every old painting. Rewriting history hurts more than ignoring it. Beatrix has always been strong and independent, Mom told my neighbors when I entered the gifted program. Never heard she understands that Lily needs extra care. My family vanished without warning. I realized expectations weren't for me as my parents praised, hugged, and seemed proud of Lily. I didn't need that stuff, they thought. Mom would say, "Beatrix is the type who takes care of herself," when asked about me. Independence doesn't mean rejecting love. I applied to work at Sugar Pines Bakery in 8th grade. Mrs. Lorraine, the owner, was my first non-family fan. She never asked why a 13-year-old wanted to sweep floors and sell pastries after school. She said, "If you work hard, you deserve a place in the world." I'll never forget when she touched my shoulder. Every day after school I knotted my hair and went to the bakery to wipe tables, wash trays, and take orders. I performed homework quietly at my small corner desk. As long as I didn't startle Lily with hand soap, no one asked where I was or what I was doing when I returned. Lily was special. Except for buying her birthday cake, she never worked, cleaned her textbooks, or visited a bakery. This family sent flowers and a video camera to all Lily's events, from group presentations to church performances. Me? Mom just commented, "That's good," while slicing fruit for vitamin C deficient Lily, after my perfect SAT score. My senior year, I applied to 12 colleges. No one knew. I wrote essays secretly during bakery breaks and had Mrs. Lorraine proofread them. She taught me sincere writing. I wrote my recommendation letters, financial aid papers, and FAFSA. I walked silently, yet confidently. My parents weren't expected to pay for college, so I applied for merit, need, and first-generation scholarships. Every application line was my modest protest against being ignored. After working all summer, saving every tip, and saving in a piggy bank, I bought a bus ticket to a scholarship interview in another state. During my normal spring afternoon bakery counter cleanup, I received an email. Northwestern gave me a full scholarship. I stood immersed in the buttery cookie fragrance, eyes burning, smiling uncontrollably. Lorraine hugged me like her grandchild. My first cry was when someone was proud of me. Mom saw the acceptance letter I brought home that night. She looked, and put it on the table. "Congrats, but don't tell Lily, she's stressed out lately." I nodded, folded the paper, placed it in my pocket, and went upstairs while Lily laughed about her new dance shoes from the boutique I'd never been in. Following Lily's second-place school art contest triumph weeks later, the family partied. Dad even exhibited her drawing in the living room with a plaque that read, "The family's talent." I looked at the pink cat on a rainbow, then at my great paper, which a college professor praised, now in my desk drawer. Then I knew. I was the silent kid despite my efforts. Even everyday Lily was special. I swore to become someone they couldn't ignore again since I had the key to escape. I loved art history, and was tired of being told what to do. So I majored at Northwestern. When I was taken to her house, Grandma let me browse through boxes of vintage brooches, necklaces and earrings. Art Deco, European dynasties, and antique jewelry symbolic lectures brought back memories. Swan hairpins with delicate lavender stones come to mind. I was breathless when the light hit the jewel, but I wasn't sure if it was worth it. I spent hours admiring the window. Looking at an antique goes beyond interest. My only trustworthy instinct is this one. I interned unpaid for a small Chicago jewelry evaluation organization, mostly with local auction houses, after graduating with honors. My friends walked into large media or finance companies while I wore white gloves, crouched over a magnifying glass, and chronicled every tiny scratch on rings no one cared about. I didn't realize those nameless fragments would change my life. A costume jewelry brooch for a few $dozen was the first big change. For some reason, taking it up stirred me. The modest design had superb craftsmanship, excellent enamel, cleanly etched edges, and a little, virtually worn flaw on the reverse. Researching that mark took all evening. A French artisan who manufactured jewelry for aristocrats in the early 20th century lost his factory during the war. The brooch was rare and authentic. My employers heard my findings in a brief meeting. I talked with passion, not pride. Archival documents, design comparisons, and a university librarian friend helped me access a museum database for original records. The brooch was re-evaluated at $12,000. At the Seattle Antique Showcase auction, it sold for about $40,000. The company email introduced me with, "Beatrix has a sharp eye. Continue working as if nothing occurred while more misjudged pieces fell into my hands." Cloisonné enamel necklaces were mistaken for copies. But this 19th century Russian one was authentic. Another of 30 platinum wedding rings for a Boston family's anniversary. More collections were my responsibility. My supervisor, Margaret, invited me to lunch for the first time. "Beatrix, have you ever thought about going solo?" she asked as she sliced a tart. I chuckled, thinking she was joking. She nodded. "Me? The girl who's worked unpaid for 2 years and survives on instant noodles?" "Exactly. The hungriest people find the rarest meals." I recalled her words. I verified for pawn shops, family-owned antique stores, and other small businesses that couldn't afford big firms. Although my charges were reduced, every aspect was checked. Be careful. Never skip. I unlocked the closet in my shabby fourth-floor home at night, and looked at the notepad my grandma gave me. The first page said, in disorganized handwriting, "It's not the rare item, it's the girl who sees it as treasure." I understood. If I was invisible at home, every object I touched defined me. I am determined never to be underestimated again, just as I never misjudged a hidden jewel. In the fall of my 27th year, I started a business. No one knew. Nobody asked. My family thought I worked a temporary job to break up Lily's long shifts. I rented a modest office on the third floor of an old Milwaukee building above an Italian cafe and next to a closed dentistry practice. A file box supported a wobbly wooden desk, a chair I salvaged from the trash, and a flea market light in the 300-square-foot office. The lamp clicked softly every time I turned it on, as if it doubted my dream. Everything faded silently when I named the company Aum and Iris. A for gold, Iris after the flower my mom planted in our yard before Lily was born. The start was challenging. I helped a local antique merchant identify platinum from plated mix, and an elderly woman authenticate her Great Depression engagement ring. I methodically performed gemstone microscopy and historical provenance tracking for less than huge businesses. I gained respect. One referral doubled. A small regional museum, estate lawyers and collectors asked for help appraising an inherited jewelry set that had never been appraised. My office grew in my second year. Near the Italian cafe, the glass-fronted ground-floor store had a sign. My first employee, Maya, a recent geology graduate with acute eyes and patience for small stones, was hired. She learned to study gemstone cutting under filament lamps, spot handcrafting with the naked eye, and most significantly, trust intuition. Growth was faster than expected. By year 5 I had Milwaukee, Minneapolis, and Denver offices. We validated million-dollar auctions, helped clients from both coasts, and specialized in forgotten storage, safe, and attic collections. Over $12 million was my net worth without almost 1 million authentication contracts. I lived in a little suburban house, drove a neutral-toned silver SUV, and used an old phone because I didn't need to display anything. My relatives didn't grasp. Beatrix, the rebellious daughter who declined a good office job, worked with old things, and missed dinner, maybe dusting antiques, was their view of me. I attended Sunday dinners and listened to Mom talk about Lily changing her major for the 4th time, this time to animal behavior psychology, and potentially discovering her passion. Still, her dad advised me to work at the local high school for its great insurance. Still watched Lily flick through Instagram mid-conversation, showing off a new designer bag she claimed was on sale, but it was a limited edition, never discounted. I smiled softly when asked what I was doing. No information was required. My pearl necklace belonged to an Edwardian British noblewoman, and my ruby hairpin was a rare early 20th century design. No one noticed, thinking it was flea market stuff. I didn't correct them. Lily joked over dinner, "Gab definitely has enough jewelry to establish a shop." I grinned, drank orange juice and answered, "Who knows?" I could have claimed that I was behind some of the region's largest authentication cases, that my company had just signed a contract with the National Museum, that I was invited to write for a major gemology journal, and that Lily's bracelet was false. However, sometimes stillness is the only crown the overlooked can wear without permission. I sent my parents money after my 5th year in business. After Lily switched to her 5th major, interior design, her monthly spending jumped from $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. Interior design was the field I wanted but couldn't afford. Mom called me one Saturday evening, softening after a few thanks. "Lily's really finding herself, you know. But tuition at Parsons isn't cheap, and your father's teacher salary can't cover it all." I nodded at my desk while reviewing documentation for a $400,000 antique jewelry appraisal. "Can you assist?" she asked after a pause. I said, "How much per month?" Lily hadn't graduated 6 years, but $7,000. But temporarily. Once Lily graduates, she'll assist the whole family. I never queried why they hadn't advised her to apply for scholarships or part-time jobs. Instead, I opened a company account and set up a $7,000 monthly family support, tuition help transfer. Every time the money went out, I told myself, not because they deserve it, but because I can. Some can't, Jessica Felix. My sister cried. Family shares everything. But I had already shared, for 2 years, $7,000 a month, quietly, while they said I lived off them. My name is Beatrix. In my Minnesota lakeside village, winters were lengthy, and everyone knew each other. As a kid, my family seemed normal. My mom was a county hospital nurse at night and my dad taught high school physics. Not affluent, not impoverished. Once, as an only child, I thought everyone loved me. Dad took me fishing every weekend, and Mom groomed my hair before work. We ate ice cream on the porch and listened to cicadas on summer nights. I considered that a warm family. It ended on a frigid January night when I turned 8. I woke up to urgent pounding and flashing lighting in the driveway at night. My Aunt Evelyn entered the house with a pale face and urged me to fetch a coat and other items. Mom was hospitalized, she claimed. After being born 2 months early, my sister needed special care. I was too young to understand. Yet that night altered everything. Lily, a tiny red living thing surrounded by tubes and machinery, lay still in an incubator. I couldn't approach her. "We can't risk her getting sick," Mom said, watching the heart monitor. She slowly drew away as I touched her hand, like I was a threat. Everything revolved around Lily after she arrived home. Sanitizer in every room, air purifiers 24/7, and a bleach smell that burned my throat made our house sterile. Mom took me to Grandma's when I coughed or sneezed. It felt good at first. Grandma made delicious apple pie and saved me books. I slowly understood I wasn't welcome at home. They worried I might hurt Lily, their hope. I aced my first third-grade math test. I brought it home expecting Mom to place it on the fridge as she did. After reading the paper, she asked Dad if he had tissues for Lily, who looked stuffy. Father nodded and said, "Good job," without a hug or smile. "Just finished." I tried everything to get their attention. Sketched images, won first in the school science fair, and told Mom about my great book reading. Every attempt was denied. "Lily has a fever. She's asleep. She needs rest. Beatrix, please be quiet." My invisibility was enhanced. I kept to myself since Lily was irritated by my peppermint oil-scented chamber. Therefore, she was denied entrance. In the only place that seemed like mine, I studied art history, antiques, and the imaginary worlds behind every old painting. Rewriting history hurts more than ignoring it. Beatrix has always been strong and independent, Mom told my neighbors when I entered the gifted program. Never heard she understands that Lily needs extra care. My family vanished without warning. I realized expectations weren't for me as my parents praised, hugged, and seemed proud of Lily. I didn't need that stuff, they thought. Mom would say, "Beatrix is the type who takes care of herself," when asked about me. Independence doesn't mean rejecting love. I applied to work at Sugar Pines Bakery in 8th grade. Mrs. Lorraine, the owner, was my first non-family fan. She never asked why a 13-year-old wanted to sweep floors and sell pastries after school. She said, "If you work hard, you deserve a place in the world." I'll never forget when she touched my shoulder. Every day after school I knotted my hair and went to the bakery to wipe tables, wash trays, and take orders. I performed homework quietly at my small corner desk. As long as I didn't startle Lily with hand soap, no one asked where I was or what I was doing when I returned. Lily was special. Except for buying her birthday cake, she never worked, cleaned her textbooks, or visited a bakery. This family sent flowers and a video camera to all Lily's events, from group presentations to church performances. Me? Mom just commented, "That's good," while slicing fruit for vitamin C deficient Lily after my perfect SAT score. My senior year, I applied to 12 colleges. No one knew. I wrote essays secretly during bakery breaks and had Mrs. Lorraine proofread them. She taught me sincere writing. I wrote my recommendation letters, financial aid papers, and FAFSA. I walked silently, yet confidently. My parents weren't expected to pay for college, so I applied for merit, need, and first-generation scholarships. Every application line was my modest protest against being ignored. After working all summer, saving every tip, and saving in a piggy bank, I bought a bus ticket to a scholarship interview in another state. During my normal spring afternoon bakery counter cleanup, I received an email. Northwestern gave me a full scholarship. I stood immersed in the buttery cookie fragrance, eyes burning, smiling uncontrollably. Lorraine hugged me like her grandchild. My first cry was when someone was proud of me. Mom saw the acceptance letter I brought home that night. She looked, and put it on the table. "Congrats, but don't tell Lily. She's stressed out lately." I nodded, folded the paper, placed it in my pocket, and went upstairs while Lily laughed about her new dance shoes from the boutique I'd never been in. Following Lily's second-place school art contest triumph weeks later, The family partied. Dad even exhibited her drawing in the living room with a plaque that read, "The family's talent." I looked at the pink cat on a rainbow, then at my great paper, which a college professor praised, now in my desk drawer. Then I knew. I was the silent kid despite my efforts. Even everyday Lily was special. I swore to become someone they couldn't ignore again since I had the key to escape. I loved art history, and was tired of being told what to do. So I majored at Northwestern. When I was taken to her house, Grandma let me browse through boxes of vintage brooches, necklaces and earrings. Art Deco, European dynasties, and antique jewelry symbolic lectures brought back memories. Swan hairpins with delicate lavender stones come to mind. I was breathless when the light hit the jewel, but I wasn't sure if it was worth it. I spent hours admiring the window. Looking at an antique goes beyond interest. My only trustworthy instinct is this one. I interned unpaid for a small Chicago jewelry evaluation organization, mostly with local auction houses, after graduating with honors. My friends walked into large media or finance companies while I wore white gloves, crouched over a magnifying glass, and chronicled every tiny scratch on rings no one cared about. I didn't realize those nameless fragments would change my life. A costume jewelry brooch for a few $dozen was the first big change. For some reason, taking it up stirred me. The modest design had superb craftsmanship, excellent enamel, cleanly etched edges, and a little, virtually worn flaw on the reverse. Researching that mark took all evening. A French artisan who manufactured jewelry for aristocrats in the early 20th century lost his factory during the war. The brooch was rare and authentic. My employers heard my findings in a brief meeting. I talked with passion, not pride. Archival documents, design comparisons, and a university librarian friend helped me access a museum database for original records. The brooch was re-evaluated at $12,000. At the Seattle Antique Showcase auction, it sold for about $40,000. The company email introduced me with, "Beatrix has a sharp eye." Continue working as if nothing occurred while more misjudged pieces fell into my hands. Cloisonné enamel necklaces were mistaken for copies. But this 19th century Russian one was authentic. Another of 30 platinum wedding rings for a Boston family's anniversary. More collections were my responsibility. My supervisor, Margaret, invited me to lunch for the first time. "Beatrix, have you ever thought about going solo?" she asked as she sliced a tart. I chuckled, thinking she was joking. She nodded. "Me? The girl who's worked unpaid for 2 years and survives on instant noodles?" "Exactly. The hungriest people find the rarest meals." I recalled her words. I verified for pawn shops, family-owned antique stores, and other small businesses that couldn't afford big firms. Although my charges were reduced, every aspect was checked. Be careful. Never skip. I unlocked the closet in my shabby fourth-floor home at night, and looked at the notepad my grandma gave me. The first page said, in disorganized handwriting, "It's not the rare item, it's the girl who sees it as treasure." I understood. If I was invisible at home, every object I touched defined me. I am determined never to be underestimated again, just as I never misjudged a hidden jewel. In the fall of my 27th year, I started a business. No one knew. Nobody asked. My family thought I worked a temporary job to break up Lily's long shifts. I rented a modest office on the 3rd floor of an old Milwaukee building above an Italian cafe and next to a closed dentistry practice. A file box supported a wobbly wooden desk, a chair I salvaged from the trash, and a flea market light in the 300-square-foot office. The lamp clicked softly every time I turned it on, as if it doubted my dream. Everything faded silently when I named the company Aum and Iris. A for gold, Iris after the flower my mom planted in our yard before Lily was born. The start was challenging. I helped a local antique merchant identify platinum from plated mix, and an elderly woman authenticate her Great Depression engagement ring. I methodically performed gemstone microscopy and historical provenance tracking for less than huge businesses. I gained respect. One referral doubled. A small regional museum, estate lawyers and collectors asked for help appraising an inherited jewelry set that had never been appraised. My office grew in my second year. Near the Italian cafe, the glass-fronted ground-floor store had a sign. My first employee, Maya, a recent geology graduate with acute eyes and patience for small stones, was hired. She learned to study gemstone cutting under filament lamps, spot handcrafting with the naked eye, and most significantly, trust intuition. Growth was faster than expected. By year 5 I had Milwaukee, Minneapolis and Denver offices. We validated million-dollar auctions, helped clients from both coasts, and specialized in forgotten storage, safe, and attic collections. Over $12 million was my net worth without almost 1 million authentication contracts. I lived in a little suburban house, drove a neutral-tone silver SUV, and used an old phone because I didn't need to display anything. My relatives didn't grasp. Beatrix, the rebellious daughter who declined a good office job, worked with old things, and missed dinner, maybe dusting antiques, was their view of me. I attended Sunday dinners and listened to Mom talk about Lily changing her major for the 4th time, this time to animal behavior psychology, and potentially discovering her passion. Still, her dad advised me to work at the local high school for its great insurance. Still watched Lily flick through Instagram mid-conversation, showing off a new designer bag she claimed was on sale, but it was a limited edition, never discounted. I smiled softly when asked what I was doing. No information was required. My pearl necklace belonged to an Edwardian British noblewoman, and my ruby hairpin was a rare early 20th century design. No one noticed, thinking it was flea market stuff. I didn't correct them. Lily joked over dinner, "Gab definitely has enough jewelry to establish a shop." I grinned, drank orange juice and answered, "Who knows?" I could have claimed that I was behind some of the region's largest authentication cases, that my company had just signed a contract with the National Museum, that I was invited to write for a major gemology journal, and that Lily's bracelet was false. However, sometimes stillness is the only crown the overlooked can wear without permission. I sent my parents money after my 5th year in business. After Lily switched to her 5th major, interior design, her monthly spending jumped from $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. Interior design was the field I wanted but couldn't afford. Mom called me one Saturday evening, softening after a few thanks. "Lily's really finding herself, you know. But tuition at Parsons isn't cheap, and your father's teacher salary can't cover it all." I nodded at my desk while reviewing documentation for a $400,000 antique jewelry appraisal. "Can you assist?" she asked after a pause. I said, "How much per month?" Lily hadn't graduated 6 years, but $7,000. But temporarily. Once Lily graduates, she'll assist the whole family. I never queried why they hadn't advised her to apply for scholarships or part-time jobs. Instead, I opened a company account and set up a $7,000 monthly family support, tuition help transfer. Every time the money went out, I told myself, not because they deserve it, but because I can. Some can't, Jessica Felix. I tried not to hear Mom tell the neighbors, "Beatrix lives so frugally, she basically eats canned soup and rides the bus." Or Lily posted Cabo vacation images with luxury luggage captioned, "I deserve this after a tough semester." Lily half smirked at me while I cut a roast for Sunday dinner. "Ever considered earning an MBA? May aid your antique shop work?" Mom nodded quietly. "She's right. All have master's degrees. Returning to school may improve your work prospects." As I sipped water, I contemplated the design for the new New York gallery I signed last week. I authenticated every piece of jewelry for a $2,500,000 project. After a few beers at her boyfriend's birthday celebration, Lily told her friends, "My sister, no idea why she's still chasing all that dusty old stuff. Pity-filled parents still pay her rent." My former customer, one of her friends, told me what she said, and I chuckled. Not unhappy or furious, but empty. Emptiness at being at the summit and looking down to see your family still at the base of the mountain, unwilling to climb but needing a rope. Like the antiquities I find in junk piles, silence can make anything interesting. Lily captioned her Instagram post with, "Rewarding myself after a rough semester. Hard work pays off. I knew the car cost over $90,000, and no Parsons student could afford it without quiet funding." Mum called me happily that day. "Did you see, honey? Lily's doing so well. She's handling everything on her own now. She's definitely got the ability to succeed." I sat quiet again, but I was impatient. I want to know when people will see me, not their faded shadow. Thanksgiving was not planned that year. Solo escape was my plan. Mom called, sounding more vulnerable than usual. I haven't been feeling well, Beatrix. No one's really up to cooking this year. Everyone's looking forward to the holiday. You know how it is. I knew. Dinner is forgotten, but everyone would notice if I didn't show up. I said, I'll take care of it. You get some rest. Yes. I had contacted a Chicago high-end catering firm for my company's auctions. Private collector dinners featured custom-designed meals that were works of beauty from planting to seasoning. My company's secondary card covered everything. No one knew. Nobody asked. Expected to know several cooks. Thanksgiving, boyfriend faked a whole career, lied to me and dumped me with a $347 check. But when I walked into his party, I made sure he regretted everything. You guys, I'm still absorbing last weekend. Replaying it in my thoughts makes me wonder if I dreamt it all. Nope. My maxed out credit card and ice cream smears on my couch prove it. Jake and I were together for 2 years. 2 years, not a fling. Netflix marathons on Sundays, awkward holiday meals with both families, and that odd couples yoga class he insisted on trying, which we both were terrible at. We had it all down. Things weren't perfect. Are they ever? I thought we were solid. We considered moving in together this summer. He kept leaving his socks around, texting during movies, and making helpful comments about my appearance. That shirt makes your arms look bigger, or, have you considered changing your hairstyle? I always dismissed it as his honesty. Past me was a doormat. Jake texted me about this work friend meal last Friday. He never included me in his job life, stating it wasn't professional or anything. Actually, I was excited. After shopping for a new dress, RIP budget, I spent forever getting ready. The whole YouTube makeup tutorial, the expensive straightener I use for special occasions, etc. This costly downtown eatery has little portions and no menu prices. Red flag number 1. Jake is there with Joshua and Pablo, his co-workers. I get an odd vibe when I arrive. Jake barely recognizes me, just a half stand from his chair and, "You're late." Parking was tough, so I was 2 minutes late. He looks at my clothes and says, "Oh, you wore that?" Not quietly either. My face heated up when his companions exchanged this gaze. Please note that I was wearing a dark blue outfit that I liked. I joke, "Is there a dress code I missed?" He shrugs and says they ordered appetizers. Cool. The following hour is Jake babbling about a job I don't understand while his friends nod. Jake interrupts or corrects me whenever I enter the chat. After I recalled a customer at my store, Jake said, "She doesn't really get how things work in the real business world," as if retail wasn't a genuine career. I managed for 3 years. I sit there growing increasingly uncomfortable, wondering if Jake has always been this condescending, and I simply didn't notice, or if he's playing off for his pals. Bad look either way. I tell Joshua that his co-worker Vanessa, my dearest friend, introduced us. Jake stops me mid-sentence and says, "Yes, Vanessa felt bad for her." Really, I was helping. Laughs. Seriously, my stomach plummeted. Nothing like that happened. Vanessa warned me about Jake's ego before setting us up, but stated he was a decent man. No, he wasn't. I leave for the restroom to avoid crying in front of them. In the stall, I text Vanessa, "What the fuck is happening?" When I see that Jake tagged himself at this restaurant with Boys Night Out on Instagram, I feel like I'm not there. Vanessa calls me quickly, but I put her on hold to avoid the guys seeing me cry. I splash water on my face, reapply my makeup, and give myself a sad pep talk in the mirror about eating dinner with dignity. After returning to the table, they chuckle about something, but stop when I sit down. Awesome. The server brings our main portions, and Jake keeps making fun of my food choice. Because I was anxious about the bill, I chose spaghetti, one of the cheaper selections. He kept adding, "Carb loading for a marathon? That's a bold choice for your body type." Each comment seems like a paper cut, and they build up quickly. I'm hardly eating, moving food around my plate and counting the minutes till I leave. When Pablo asks Jake about a presentation, Jake tells him how his boss enjoyed his ideas, and he now runs the project. My brain clicks. Jake was apprehensive about his 5-minute presentation the week before. He's suddenly famous? He seems to be the protagonist in another world. Bill arrives. After the waiter places it on the table, Jake looks at it and slides it to me. I thought he was showing me the sum, but he said, "I'll never forget this." You know what? I doubt this works. I watch him for the punchline, not one. I've tried to work this out, but I'm no longer interested in you. I think we should split. Within a restaurant. In front of pals. 2 years together. Does anyone else do that? Completely surprised. Are you serious now? Want to do this way? He jumps up, grabs his jacket and says, I still get a knot in my stomach. A girl like you should be grateful I dated you this long. You're no prize. Then he and his companions left. I was left with a $347 bill for their dumb Wagyu appetizers and nice beverages after they left laughing. The waiter's pity made everything worse. I paid with my credit card, which I'm still paying off from Christmas, yay, and got to my car without falling apart. Vanessa couldn't understand me when I called from the parking lot, crying. She delivered a pint of Ben & Jerry's and a bottle of wine to my apartment, the MVP. Between ugly crying and stress-eating cookie dough, I told her everything. She was furious. I had to stop her from driving to Jake's and throwing a disturbance. She became strange then. She kept asking Jake about work, the project, and his role in the company. Finally she said, Sabrina, I don't know how to tell you this, but Jake isn't who he says he is at work. Jake isn't a rising marketing star. Coffee runs and meeting scheduling are his duties as an assistant. All those business trips, complete fabrications, big presentation, just doing the team's slides. His fancy LinkedIn title? Total fiction. I felt stupid. This guy lied about everything for 2 years, and I never questioned it. What else was he lying about? I went full-on detective that night when Vanessa departed. I went through our text history, pics, everything. I missed so many inconsistencies, comments about money that didn't stack up, late work but a cross-town location. Unable to sleep. I kept thinking about how little he made me feel and how humiliated I was in the restaurant. A stranger texts me at 3 a.m. Hey Cody from Jake's office. Vanessa gave me your number. Some information is necessary. That was when things got interesting. Update 1. Thanks for all the kind comments on my last post. Reading some made me cry, for good reasons. Since several of you requested an update, here's what transpired in this crazy event. After Cody, who works with Jake, told me that my 2-year-old boyfriend had been living in a dream world of his own, I spent the following few days in a horrible post-breakup fog. You know, where you alternate between bawling into a pint of ice cream and furiously browsing through old images to see whether they're real. My apartment was a mess. Because cooking felt impossible. Dishes, laundry, and 7 empty DoorDash bags stacked up. The hardest part was that I would think of something humorous to text Jake, then recall what happened, and it felt like getting dumped again. Did that really happen? Was running through my head. Why did I not see this coming? I avoided social media because I knew Jake would post something irritating. I gave in Wednesday morning and checked Instagram. Jake took a gym selfie with the phrase, "Level up. Know your worth." Audacity. I nearly flung my phone across the room. Vanessa brought takeout that night and found me wrapped in my comforter like a sad burrito. She has been amazing, making sure I eat real food, listening to me whine about the same things, and never saying, I told you so. Even though she had her doubts about Jake from the start. Vanessa showed me her Cody texts while we ate. They had been talking a lot, and he had tea to spill. Cody said Jake told everyone at work that he dumped me because I was clingy and talked about marriage. Oh what? Jake had a Pinterest board called Future Home Ideas. He said it was research for a professional assignment. Cody revealed that Jake not only lied about his employment title. Taking credit for others' labor put him on probation and could get him fired. Late nights at work? He desperately tried to rectify problems before anyone noticed. Those business trips? Complete fiction. My phone rang when I was thinking about this. Jake's mother, Emma. I almost didn't answer. Awkward. But decided to act like an adult. Emma has always been nice to me, remembering my birthday and asking about my life. She seemed worried and asked about Jake and me. He told his folks we fought but we're all right. Little fight? He publicly humiliated me, dumped me in front of his buddies, and left me with a huge bill. I avoided putting her in the middle by explaining we were taking some space. She then mentioned Jake's birthday dinner on Saturday, and how the family was excited to see me. I almost choked on lo mein. Jake informed his family we were together, and I was coming to his birthday supper. At supper at his parents' residence, he reportedly told them we had major news. I was stunned as Vanessa looked at me like I had a second head after hanging up. Is he delusional, or a pathological liar? I wondered the same thing. We devised the plan then. I wouldn't ignore his family. They'd always been good to me, so they deserved to know Jake's true nature. But I wouldn't cause a scene or be vengeful. I would attend the meal as invited and tell the truth. Cody came for coffee the next day. He was cool despite meeting us through Jake, which was awkward. He validated everything and provided more Jake work-lying specifics. Only Jake and 2 interns comprised Jake's team. The huge presentation he led last month? He ran the slideshow as his boss spoke. Cody felt upset for me, stating he'd always thought Jake's stories about me were incorrect. Jake came to work saying that I was high maintenance, but I paid for most of our dates at the end since he claimed to be between paychecks, which I now realize probably meant he was awful with money. Cody received a text from their employer midway during our chat asking if he could help with an emergency project Saturday night. Cody was upset since he had plans, but I had a thought. What if Cody needed to deliver something to Jake's parents during the birthday dinner? It would be an ideal time. As we worked out the specifics, Jake texted me, his first since the restaurant incident. We need to talk about what happened. I might have overreacted. Might have. Cody nearly spit out his coffee when I showed him. Overreacted is when you vent about someone being late, not when you publicly humiliate your 2-year-old girlfriend and charge her $300. I remained silent. Let him perspire. The next 2 days were full of preparation. Not going to this dinner unprepared. I found all the lies in past texts, dates he claimed to be at work, conferences that didn't occur, and Cody confirmed co-worker claims. Even Jake's work event images were downloaded from the company website. Vanessa helped me choose an outfit Friday night. Part of me wanted to look great to spite him. We agreed that looking beautiful, without appearing too hard, was optimal. We chose a plain black outfit that Jake stated made me look average, which I now realize was his bizarre negging attempt because I always got comments. I barely slept Friday night. What if it failed? What if his family supported him? What if I froze and failed? By Saturday I had eaten my nails to nothing and imagined 17 scenarios. Jake texted again at noon. Looking forward to seeing you tonight. Put on beautiful clothes. I did not answer. My parents are excited. Let him think freely. I prepared in the afternoon with a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. Vanessa helped me with my hair and gave me a pep talk when I lost my nerve. At 5:30, I drove to his parents' place. I had to stop driving once because my hands were trembling so much. For a minute, I did the breathing exercises from the meditation software I downloaded months ago, but never used. What was I doing? Was this crazy? Maybe I should block Jake on everything and live normally. My determination strengthened as I thought about him sitting at his birthday meal, presumably lying about our relationship and making himself the victim. I arrived at his parents' place at 6:15, fashionably late, which would anger Jake. Several automobiles were in the driveway. It looked like the whole family. Walked to the door after checking my makeup in the rearview mirror and taking one last big breath. Jake's dad greeted me with a smile and hug, and let me in. I felt melancholy when the house smelled like Emma's pot roast. I liked Jake's family, and this was probably my last visit. I turned into the living room and saw Jake drinking and laughing at his cousin's comment. He froze when he saw me, evidently not expecting me despite telling his family. I thought his expression was priceless. He looked panicked for a moment before calming down and smiling. He hugged me tightly and whispered, "You came. We need to chat privately." I smiled and said, "I wouldn't miss your birthday for anything, especially since you've been telling everyone we had important news to share." The color left his face. Emma enthusiastically cheered and asked if this was it. Jake's sister looked at me knowingly. His parents joked about having grandchildren. Jake grabbed my elbow too tightly and tried to steer me down the hallway, but his mom cried out that supper was ready and everyone should sit down. Cody texted me, "On my way," while we sat at the dining table with Jake warily eyeing me. 15 minutes out. Jake growled, "What are you doing here?" I considered after the restaurant. I smiled pleasantly and added, "Oh Jake, I wouldn't miss the chance to tell your family about that restaurant episode. That narrative would delight them. As his mom brought out the dinner, his countenance was in complete fear. Worth every anxious moment getting there. Game on. Update 2. I can now describe Jake's birthday supper. Forgive the delay. I needed a mental health day after all this turmoil. My neighbor stole my password and downloaded the internet, causing Wi-Fi issues. We left off where? Right. Me eating dinner with Jake's family while he worried what I'd say. So there I was with Jake's parents Emma and Ralph, his sister Kayla, his grandma, and 2 cousins whose names I usually mix up. Emma's pot roast, buttery mashed potatoes I'd fantasized of, and a gourmet salad nobody would eat but pretend to like were on the table. The first 20 minutes were unpleasant. Jake tried to manage the conversation while looking at me. I smiled and passed the bread rolls, enjoying his left eye twitching whenever I spoke. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Emma kept the conversation going. Bless her. She asked about my family, job, and regular small talk. She said they were proud of Jake's promotion, and I nearly choked on my water. Jake's face was the same color as the beets on the table. Jake said his team was crushing its goals, and his boss was developing him for senior management. I only nodded, watching him sink deeper with each word. Ralph, typically silent, suddenly queried Jake about the Johnson account. Jake was allegedly informing his dad about a large transaction he was leading. Jake's ambiguous response regarding strategic pivots and core competencies could have been a horoscope. That was meaningless. His sister Kayla caught my glance across the table. She's always been the suspicious family member that Googles facts during disagreements and calls out BS. She looked at me like, is he real? Emma then mentioned the future. She inquired about our major news and how it affected our next move. Jake almost dropped his fork and muttered about not discussing it yet. His grandmother, who has no filter and is my favorite family member. Case. So are you 2 moving in together or what? Because Jake said you were apartment hunting together. New to me again. We only got as far as me suggesting we combine our Netflix accounts to save money. Jake mentioned that his supervisor gave him a business card to use. I couldn't resist. I inquired what expenses he could sanction. He mumbled about client meals and team outings. I casually added, "Oh, speaking of dinners, Jake took me to this amazing restaurant last week." Honey, what was it called again? Where did you meet Joshua and Pablo? His face lost color faster than my TikTok battery. My phone dies after 20 minutes of scrolling. Anyone else? Doorbell rang before he could reply. Perfect timing. Emma answered and said, "Oh, Cody. What a shock." Jake was about to faint. Cody entered with a folder in his button-up shirt. Professional. He apologized for disturbing the birthday dinner but said Jake needed to sign some business documents immediately for Monday morning. As the great host, Emma promptly invited him to cake later. Jake tried to take Cody to the front door, but Ralph said they could work at the table as we're all family. Cody took the empty chair beside me, which I'd saved, NGL. Jake gripped his fork so tightly I feared it would bend. Ralph asked Cody about Jake's apparently led big presentation. Cody looked bewildered before understanding. I saw him making a decision as he looked at me and Jake. Cody stated the presentation went great, but their boss gave it, and Jake and the crew supported it. Ralph was confused, and replied Jake hadn't mentioned that. Since I'm messy, I questioned Cody about Jake's promotion. Cody seemed so awkward, torn between loyalty to a coworker and lying to his family. He fiddled with his napkin and murmured something cryptic about company restructuring. Jake tried to switch topics to sports or whatever with a phony laugh, but his sister rejected it. She asked Cody directly about Jake's title. The silence was like dropping something in a public restroom. Everyone hears it, but no one wants to reply. Cody stared at Jake, who was silently imploring, then at me, nodding gently. He cleared his throat and stated Jake was a marketing administrative assistant. The silence. Ralph put down his fork gently. His grandmother said, "Huh." Kayla murmured, "Perhaps." I knew it. Jake quickly mediated, claiming Cody was confused, had numerous jobs, and was complicated. But the dam cracked. His relatives started asking specific questions he couldn't avoid. When were you promoted? He hadn't. Why was your team mentioned? He didn't. That corner office you mentioned? Also fiction. Jake's tales unfolded with each question. He kept staring at me like this was my fault, which made me want to say everything. Emma, bless her, tried to reconcile. She suggested we share cake and chat about brighter topics. Kayla asked me about the place I mentioned as she headed to the kitchen. I had my moment. I took a big breath and told them everything. How Jake invited me to meet his friends, how he belittled me at dinner, and how he ditched me in front of everyone and left, leaving me with a $347 bill I couldn't afford. Jake interrupted numerous times, but his dad replied with an expression I'd never seen before: disappointment. Jake's defense? I exaggerated and played victim, that I embarrassed him in front of his coworkers by not fitting in. Getting the bill taught me financial responsibility. His grandmother snorted at the final one. Cody finally spoke after several silences. He validated my tale, saying he'd heard Jake brag to coworkers about putting me in my place. He showed Pablo texts on his phone. Hey, receipts. Discussing events. Jake tried to seem victimized when Emma brought the cake in. She put it down and inquired what she missed. There was silence. Jake's dad gently suggested a family honesty discussion. Jake threw a fit. He accused me of betraying his family, called Cody a traitor, and said everyone was jealous of his success. Which success? He dropped his water glass, pointed at me, and shouted that a girl like me should be grateful he even bothered. Mother gasped. I think his grandmother swore. His sister shook her head, unsurprised. I kept my cool and replied I was only grateful for seeing him for who he was. Jake stormed out, slamming the door so violently that one of Emma's beautiful plates cracked. The aftermath seemed oddly calm. Emma apologized 50 times. Ralph looked unhappy and exhausted. Kayla cleaned up water spills. Cody apologized for the awkwardness but couldn't watch Jake lie to everyone. The oddest thing happened. Instead of sending me home, they offered cake. Jake's ex-girlfriend, co-worker and family ate birthday cake without him. It would have been awkward in any other scenario, but it wasn't. After cake, I helped Emma clean the kitchen. She kept apologizing and claimed she had no idea Jake lied so much. She seemed heartbroken about her son's transformation, not simply what he'd done to me. Personally, I felt awful for her. No parent wants to discover their child is bad. She softly inquired if there were signals earlier, and I replied that I had overlooked red flags because I wanted to believe the best about him. Jake's dad stopped me before I left. He apologized for his son's actions and thanked me for my honesty. He looked disheartened, like he was trying to figure out how they had raised him wrong. I assured him it wasn't their fault. Jake went his own way. Cody volunteered to walk me to my car, perhaps understanding I needed time to process. As we proceeded down the road, he said Jake had been experiencing work issues for months, taking credit for others' ideas, lying about his accomplishments, and even forging customer correspondence. This was his last warning before termination. Jake's urgent drive to be successful made twisted sense. His entire persona was constructed on this faux prosperity and position. Considering that, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Thanks to Cody for supporting me, I went home feeling emotionally exhausted and relieved, like taking off an uncomfortable bra at the end of the day. I apologize for the odd analogy, but you understand. Vanessa left 3 missed calls for updates when I arrived home. Jake texted me as I prepared to call her. You ruined everything. This continues. I remained silent. I blocked his number and prepared tea. I should have been terrified or upset, but I was exhausted and maybe proud of standing up to him. I thought that was it. Really. However, Jake's mom, sister, Cody, and numerous unknown numbers left 13 missed calls on my phone this morning. Jake had lost it overnight, as his voicemails became increasingly agitated. Update 3. I can now explain those 13 missed calls. I appreciate your patience while I processed everything. Sorry for the delay. My laptop did a surprise 4-hour update precisely when I got down to write. So, where were we? My phone was full of Jake's relatives, and Cody calls Sunday morning following the birthday dinner debacle. I initially believed someone had died. 5 missed calls from Emma, 3 from Kayla, 2 from Cody, and 3 from unknown numbers had my stomach plummet as I read through the notifications. Emma answered the phone on the first ring, sounding fatigued, because her voicemails were just variations of, Sabrina, please call me as soon as you can. She appeared most frightened. Jake apparently went on a bender after storming out of the birthday meal. He arrived at his ex-girlfriend's place drunk and raving about how I'd ruined his life at 2 a.m. Kayla had to pick up the ex, who I didn't even know existed, who was understandably frightened off. There was more. Jake also spent the night sending rambling messages to almost everyone we knew. He texted Cody, threatening to ruin him at work. LOL, good luck when you're fired. He wrote this lengthy Facebook statement about being besieged by snakes and people regretting betraying him. Most worrisome was that he sent his friend Pablo my address in a private conversation, threatening to punish me for humiliating him. Pablo, who seems moral, phoned Emma and forwarded the message, which is why she was so frantic to reach me. I was sitting on my couch in my ragged old pajamas, hair still in yesterday's sloppy bun, trying to comprehend all this information while Emma apologized 50 times for her son's behavior. Maybe I should have been afraid, but I was simply tired. Like when your phone is stuck at 1% battery for hours, waiting to die so you can charge it and move on. Emma came over to check on me, which was kind but made me panic clean my flat. Nothing drives cleaning like knowing someone's mom will see your home, right? My doorbell rang as I threw filthy laundry in my closet and scrubbed dried toothpaste off the sink. Emma had Kayla too. I might miss Jake most because they brought coffee and tiny little pastries from the shop near their house. They told me about Jake while we sat at my tiny kitchen table with the wobbly leg I've been wanting to fix for months. Kayla said Jake had lied about his life before. He reportedly told everyone he was on the baseball team in college when he was cut during tryouts. He once claimed to be talking to a popular girl who didn't know him. He constantly imagined himself as more successful, popular, and everything else. I received texts from pals who saw Jake's social media meltdown while they talked. Vanessa was terrified and wanted to bring her kickboxing boyfriend over in case. I swear she watches too many criminal shows. Many bewildered messages about Jake's dramatic subtweets filled my group chat. Then my doorbell rang again. I froze, wondering if it was Jake. Cody appeared through the blinds, and Kayla breathed deeply. Jake had mentioned visiting me, so Cody wanted to warn me in person that he had been blowing up his phone all morning. Me, Jake's mom, his sister and his co-worker sat in my living room on a Sunday morning, trying to figure out what to do about this man-child screaming a tantrum because he was caught lying. It would have been funny without the tension. Imagine explaining this to someone who wasn't there. Cody said their employer heard Jake's social media rant. Someone screenshotted and forwarded it, making Monday at work interesting. Kayla worried Jake would do something reckless if he lost his job too. Then my doorbell rang again. Thanks for watching and diving into this wild family drama with me. If you love Reddit family drama, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.